we're finally all here. So welcome to Printful Threads, our first ever online conference, which we're very happy to host today. My name is Nora Inveiss. I'm the head of brand language at Printful, and I will navigate you, my dear viewers, through this conference. So I'm very, very excited. So we have a great lineup of speakers for you today. And now we're going to go briefly through our agenda. We are going to start off with a panel discussion, which is going to be called The New Normal, Executive Perspectives on the Industry Shift. And joining me in this panel discussion will be Michael Johnson from Hanesbrands. So just an internal welcome to Michael. Then we're going to have Carissa at Richmond from Bell and Canvas joining that same panel discussion. And Elīna Krūze, our fellow Printfuler, also taking part in that. And then afterwards, we're going to have individual presentations from more industry experts, including Liat Karpel from Wix, again, another Printfuler, Nora Inveiss, Jessica Giulio with Savvy Media Marketing, and Deanna Dorsey from District of Clothing. So that's a very exciting lineup, and I hope you guys are going to enjoy it and learn a few things. The overall topic for today, as you may already seen, is e-commerce store marketing during COVID-19. And obviously, these past few months, which have felt close to years, have been very challenging and strenuous for a lot of people. And so we're taking the opportunity to join forces and think about what we've learned and what we can do in the future. So that's what today is all about. And regarding you guys, our dear viewers, if you have any questions, then leave them in the chat section, and then our moderators will try to compile all your inquiries, and then we'll have short Q&A sessions after each discussion. But the main event is the Q&A, the Ask Me Anything at the end of the entire conference, where we'll tackle all the questions you may have thought up during the conference. So there we go. Now it is, I think, time to get started with the panel discussion. So now hopefully you see some of our lovely panelists. And I think we are just about ready. Maybe just to get things started, we could do a quick introduction of one another. And so Michael, Carissa, and Elīna, could you please tell the viewers a bit about yourself and the brands you represent and what you do. So let's start with Carissa.
Hi, everyone. My name is Carissa Richmond. I'm with Bell and Canvas. I've been with the company for 6.5 years, and I'm very excited to be here today to give you a little bit more insight behind the brand and what we've been up to over the past, not only 28 years, but the past 2 months, which has felt like years, but excited to be here.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you. Michael, a few words about yourself.
All right, thanks. Michael Johnson, I'm with Hanesbrands. And when I look at the list of all the attendees, I'm excited to see that I'm not the most common name, but I never thought I'd be beaten out by a Mariana.
What are the chances?
I've been with Hanesbrands for about 2 years. I'm the director of marketing, so I cover a number of brands, whether it's Hanes or Champion. I've been in the t-shirt and fleece business for 16 years now, working with Major League Baseball, the National Football League, and a lot of brands at VF like Vans and North Face. So been through a lot. Never thought I'd be through anything like the last 3 months.
Wow, that sounds like quite a bit, quite a journey. And Elīna, tell us a bit about yourself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Elīna. I'm head of new product development and merchandising here at Printful. Our company is only almost 7 years old, so I've been with the company for 4.5 years. So my team introduces new products to Printful and looks after all of the other products. So I'm excited to be a part of this event and participate in the panel discussion.
Excellent. And actually, my first question is for Elīna, just while we're here. So let's start with the big one. How has life changed for the Printful team over the past couple of months?
Yeah, I mean, our life has changed in a way that we're not actually actively launching things as of right now, but that doesn't mean our work hasn't stopped. So our operations team is obviously focused on getting the existing orders out as quickly as possible. So, but our work hasn't stopped, as I mentioned. So we're still working hard to develop all of our new exciting products. And we're actually starting to plan some of the upcoming launches here in Europe next week. So you're going to see some things already starting to happen sometime soon. But yeah, obviously our product roadmap has been impacted, and we have been trying to be flexible with our product plans. One of the recent examples is we launched the neck gaiters, as everyone was starting to recommend to wear face coverings in public. So we thought we would contribute to this. And so that pretty quickly became a viral product for us. I think one of the most successful product launches by far. And so we didn't really prioritize face masks as such at the beginning of this crisis. So because we thought the neck gaiters would be much more of a universal product. And yeah, it was a success.
Yeah, neck gaiters, who'd have thought? An unexpected addition to the Printful catalog for sure. And
yeah, I mean, it's a universal all year round product. So that's why we thought it would still live on beyond COVID-19.
Yep, makes sense. Carissa, how is Bell and Canvas dealing with the changes?
Yeah, you know, like most companies, it's definitely challenged our leadership team to pivot quickly. And it's been pretty inspiring to see us transition our operation overnight, it feels like, to produce our no-sew face cover design. As the largest premium t-shirt manufacturer, we're able to use fabric that we already have in our supply chain to make affordable and comfortable face covers for this worldwide shortage. And having the facility that we have here in LA, it allows us to really service this demand and turn things around in a matter of 2 to 3 days. And we've been able to produce upwards of 100 million face masks on a weekly basis. We've donated millions of face covers to organizations that are working directly with homeless communities and healthcare organizations such as the Los Angeles Food Bank, LAUSD, United Way, and many others. You know, early on, we volunteered to join the Textile Coalition to work with the White House COVID-19 task force. We've partnered with the National PPE Coalition, who's working together to bring crucial partners to supply to have a unified and efficient supply chain for medical and non-medical PPE. We have many ongoing partnerships with various celebrities that are donating face covers to organizations and charities that they're working with. You know, we just had a social media post with a couple of them, like Christian McCaffrey, Kate Upton, Serena Williams, just to name a few. You know, it really makes me so proud to be with a company that is really challenging one another to give back to our communities and really support people in a time of need. You know, we truly believe that together we can flatten the curve, and it's been so impressive to see so many people in our industry get creative and resourceful during a time like this. It definitely gives us hope that we'll be able to come out of this stronger as an industry. So, you know, we are thinking that face masks will probably be the next 3 to 5 months at least, but, you know, really people will have to be wearing face covers until we find a vaccine. So I'm sure a lot of brands in our industry are, you know, experiencing the same thing.
Definitely. Well, I agree with you there that absolutely this has been challenging, but also a very inspiring time in a way, because I guess in these challenging times we can see, you know, people rise to the occasion and actually show their strengths. And Michael, so Elīna and Carissa just shared that, well, obviously these face covers and protective gear, they're becoming really a core product. Is that a part of, is that something that you're seeing as well?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Hanes has been, you know, like Bella, one of the first companies to pivot to face masks. And in our case, it came as a direct request that we received from the federal government. I got to share a personal story. I'm out riding my bike a couple of weeks ago, or I guess 2 months ago, and I start getting text messages left and right. And we hear the president has mentioned about Hanes producing masks as part of a press conference. We were we really didn't have plans to talk about it as a corporation. We were going to keep it relatively quiet, but after that, it became quite a big deal. So our team developed a prototype that was approved by the FDA in just a matter of days, and within a week or so, we were starting to make face masks under contract from the federal government. We're still doing that. We've made hundreds of millions for them, and now we're pivoting to the public sector. So we're actually starting to roll out now with masks across the board. We've got them in some retailers starting this week, and I think we share the same story as Carissa. I mean, we expect to be in this business now for a few months, and we're proud of what we're doing. It's kind of completely unexpected, but it is a small thing that we can do to help the recovery, and hopefully get on to moving on to fleece and t-shirts in short order.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, that is quite a change, and that is something to be mentioned by the president, I guess. Quite a big shift. It's funny that you said
it's interesting these days. So
you wanted to go under the radar, but there it is. Oh well.
Stay out of the politics.
So face covers are going to be with us for a while, and they're becoming mandatory in many parts of the world right now. But are you guys seeing trends in other product categories as well? Maybe Carissa, you can comment on your side, like consumer, more like traditional products.
Yeah.
Any changes there?
Well, it's funny because with this stay-at-home ordinance, the world has really never been more casual. And we've always been in the business of making clothing that people really want to live in, and people are actually really living in them. We're seeing people t-shirts, fleece, joggers, leggings, everyone. As we're doing right now, everyone's forced to do virtual meetings and virtual hangouts. So fashion is still top of mind. Aside from our face covers really trending right now, we've seen a ton of growth in our fleece category. Fashion has really shifted its way into more of a casual way of dressing. We're seeing a ton of high-end designers have some sort of fleece item, whether it's a pullover, a full zip, a cropped hoodie, a jogger. We're seeing full-on fleece outfits come down the runway. And that's really why it fueled our fire to put a ton of effort into our fleece category. We've launched a ton of new fashion colors and fashion-forward silhouettes. I think our industry has kind of always had the misconception that fleece is really only a seasonal item, when really it's a year-round piece. And we've seen a ton of people in our industry really take advantage of that right now. We're seeing a lot of people offer fleece items in stay-at-home kits or welcome back to work kits, because companies really want to offer their employees something a little nice right now, to boost company morale, or spark a little joy during a time like this. So we definitely have faith that we'll see a ton of growth in our fleece category as we move through 2020 and 2021.
Wow. Well, yeah, I guess we are sort of entering a mini era of fleeces or sweats in a way. I mean, above anything, but above everything, people now value comfort, because that's one of the things you can really, find comfort in, I guess. And Michael, have you noticed any trends on your side?
Well, I think that the two pieces that the two of you have mentioned, I mean, it's comfort, really fun, and kind of a feeling of security of kind of going to some of the brands and the cuts that people have been comfortable with over the course of the years. So we're seeing with the Champion brand, reverse weave, which has been around for 90 years, really, continues to be strong throughout this. It's something that people can feel comfortable with. And then the alternative brand, another brand that we have on Printful, is very, soft, eco-friendly fabrics. We are finding that that brand is doing extremely well right now on e-com, and I think a lot of that just goes to that whole kind of coziness and feeling of warmth and comfort at home. So, yeah, we see the same trend that it's moving towards kind of this more casual lifestyle is really is truly fashion right now. It'll be interesting to see where that goes.
Mm-hmm. Elīna, what have you noticed on Printful's end in terms of this merging of fashion and comfort and e-commerce?
Yeah, I'm going to agree with Carissa and Michael on that. The age of comfort, or the age of sweatpants, it's not just something you wear at home. It's also entering streetwear and other areas. And we see new stores opening up, selling things like that. athleisure, I think it's going to be a big thing going forward. You know, I was reading, Adidas and other brands reports, and they see really good outlook for active wear and things like that. But to be honest, you know, Printful is an e-commerce, and we see that area booming right now as everybody is online, and, you know, people are trying to set up their online stores. So pretty much we're seeing growth across all categories. Of course, neck gaiters and face coverings, they are booming more than other products perhaps. But yeah, I think I haven't seen any particular product outside of neck gaiters and face coverings that is particularly booming. You know, we're just seeing growth everywhere.
Yeah, I guess, well, comfort is one of the things that's like a major presence right now, and e-commerce is another. And Michael, I was just wondering, like, had you at any point in your career anticipated that e-commerce would see such a boost, like such an explosion?
Well, you know, we talk about it we always talk about it being as, something that we'd like to see grow, and we put a lot of investment into it, but just to have that kind of giant jump. And I think, you know, one of the interesting things is we're seeing that ties into that, and I'm sure all of you are as well, is that, you know, in this experience economy, e-commerce is kind of morphing into the Instagram experiences and Twitch experiences and everything out there. So, you know, that opportunity, and what we're finding is that those consumers and those designers that are out there, you know, that are really keeping synergies between their online presence, their store, and then the way they're decorating and doing designs, those are the ones that really are, I think, are nailing it right now. It is, you know, a period of time of self-expression. I think this whole COVID piece has created people are looking for an outlet to get their creativity out there, and the way they decorate apparel and set up stores is an excellent opportunity.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of creativity in many, many different ways, in terms of designs, in terms of marketing, also, like just the ways people can manifest their ideas and post them online. It's really, really inspiring, and in many ways unseen before. And Carissa, from what you've seen so far, so what do you think, what's going on the e-commerce side for your business, and where do you think it'll take you?
You know, it's really tough to predict what the new normal will be like, since things have really been changing daily. But you know, if one thing's for sure, people are, you know, buying online more than ever, and we're seeing a ton of e-commerce brands are having some of the best months in sales. You know, not only do we have our wholesale side of the industry, but we also launched our retail side of the industry online 5 months ago. And, you know, since so many consumers have moved to more online shopping, it kind of raises the question of if consumers will shift its buying habits back into shopping in stores. People that have never really been online shoppers have been forced to shift their ways, and have realized that it's actually a lot more easier to shop online. We've seen a lot of online retailers get creative with exclusive launches and have something new and exciting that continues to bring people back to purchasing online. This is, of course, great for you know, a brand like Printful and other brands alike that have the capabilities where they can service their customers online, because I think there's a lot of brands suffering right now that don't have the setup to you know, really sell to their customers online. So you know, definitely it's challenging a lot of brands, but we have no doubt that there's going to be more of an online business, you know, as we move forward.
Definitely. I think it's interesting to think about this whole concept of new normal, that people tend to think that we might be going back to, well, when grasping the idea, some like to think that when are we getting back? The new normal will be getting back to some form of normal, which is still familiar. But I tend to think that it's something that we still have yet to see. It might be more unexpected, actually. But so people appreciate, you know, are starting to appreciate the more e-commerce side of things. They're the comfort of you know, the comfort that products they buy give them. What else are people expecting from the things that they now need, and the things that they're now buying online? Elīna, could you maybe comment a bit?
I mean, I think people are going to be still focusing on buying good quality staples, t-shirts, hoodies, and sort of all year round things. I think in terms of fashion, maybe people are going to be shifting away from buying, seasonal dresses or seasonal, festival types of stuff that they go and buy at H&M for $5, and maybe investing in good quality, comfortable clothes like t-shirts, hoodies, leggings that they can wear all year round. So I think that could be a trend going forward. And as I mentioned, of course, athletic wear, either gyms are closed, but workouts are not canceled. So we're going to be seeing lots of, I think, companies investing in more technical performance fabrics and more comfortable fabrics. I think companies like Lululemon are in a really good position to do that already. So I was actually going to buy Lululemon leggings the other day, and they are already out of stock. So I think they're also seeing a spike in demand. I mean, I've never worn so much leggings in my life as I do now working from home. So yeah, I think athletic wear is still going to boom over the next sort of months.
So are you saying leggings are going to be the new normal then? Is that
I
what
think
you're saying?
so. I do.
So you mentioned quality and durability of products. How do you think sustainability ties in with all that? That's also another hot keyword right now.
Yeah, this is an interesting topic I like to talk about, because when you talk sustainability, it's interesting to ask people what they really mean by that. So when I'm at a conference speaking with customers or partners, when they ask me, do you have sustainable products? I always ask them back, what does that really mean? Because for one person, it might be 100% organic cotton. For the other person, they might go for a t-shirt that only includes 5% materials of recycled bottles. And for some people, none of that is important, and they only care about how the product is manufactured in an eco-friendly way. Like Bella Canvas, for example, they don't have any 100% organic shirts, but they do their production in an eco-friendly way. So examples like that. So I think our job at Printful is to keeping in mind that customers are different and they have different needs. Our job is to provide all of these different options, which is what we're trying to do right now. So, and I think this COVID situation is definitely going to make the sustainability shift much stronger. People are going to be more conscious about what they buy. So, and we are also working to continue to expand our organic, not organic, but sustainable range. Right now, our team is working on this recycled t-shirt that's completely made of scraps. So not organic cotton, not recycled, it's something else. So, and I think for all those little brands, story really matters. So all of our small to medium sized customers, they really care about what story we put out. And so we also need to speak with Bella Canvas, with Hanes, and all of our other suppliers to see what their sustainability story is, so that we can put out that content. And so, you know, the chain goes on.
Carissa, could you maybe in a few words tell us a bit about the Bella Canvas sustainability point of view?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think because there's so many viewers on here, I think it's important to give the background of just our brand. Bella Canvas is the largest fashion premium brand in the wholesale space. We are the largest cutter and dyer of apparel in the Western Hemisphere, and we've really paved our own path by differentiating ourselves in such a commoditized industry. Over the last 5 years, we've more than tripled the size of our operation. We've launched never seen before colors, exclusive fabrications, and silhouettes. We created the industry's first ever educational platform called FAM. We launched a YouTube channel where we post a video once a week. And really, we created this t-shirt movement where quality is everything. We do such a good job as a team to put more thought into just our product offering. We really want to educate our industry on who Bella Canvas is behind the brand. You know, we have such a strong eco-friendly mindset and USA hybrid manufacturing approach. We do all of our dyeing and cutting here in Los Angeles, where we've invested in newer, more efficient dye machines, where we use 7 times less water than the average clothing manufacturer. We recycle all of our excess fabric. Nothing goes to waste. We have the most advanced automated cutting technology in the world, which really allows us to not only be efficient in our volume capacity, but have a consistent fit across the board. And to us, fit is everything, which is why we only manufacture side seam apparel, never tubular. It's been incredible to see this shift take place where people really think about what they're selling and buyers are really thinking about what they're purchasing. Millennials have really become the main buyers in our industry. And, you know, like Elīna was saying, they care about where their products are being made, how they're being made, do their values align with the brand that they're partnering with? And really, they're willing to pay the extra $1 or $2 for something a little bit nicer. Telling the story of and really giving more insight to how you do things really resonates with so many people that are purchasing nowadays. It's been incredible for us to see this shift take place. We've definitely been the pioneers of this shift, and we have no doubt that it will only continue to move forward. So, yeah.
Nowhere to go but forward. That sounds good. All right. So we got, I'd say, a little under 8 minutes left for our discussion. So thank you very much for getting this far. It's been a pleasure. And now I'm going to look at some of the questions that the team has prepared for me. Here's an interesting question. How do I break into my marketing beyond my family and friends during this current time? It's a bit of a creative question, but I was wondering what your guys' take is on that. Michael, do you have any comments maybe?
Well, I mean, I think one of the great things that you can rely on brands like Champion to help with that is being able to leverage and pull in styles and they're similar to what people are used to seeing. I mean, that's one of the beautiful things about the Champion brand is it is, you know, killing it right now at retail and streetwear. And you can take those, in most cases, those same styles that people are familiar with, and then leverage them on your platform and get some visibility off of them, and using them as your own, you know, your own platform for decoration. And what's cool, you know, in the Champion brand is it works across a number of different generations. So if you're watching The Last Dance right now and seeing all the Chicago Bulls stuff, I mean, everybody, whether it's the fans, whether the players, they're all actually in Champion. So that brand bridges the gap, and I think there's ways of leveraging that can help. Beyond that, I think, you know, just being creative and trying different things, you know, in terms of social and digital. You don't want to just be cookie cutter to what everybody else is doing. And I mean, I think those are the kind of key things that I'd point out.
That sounds good. I've done some reading on the Champion journey, and it's a really, really interesting one. And it's so cool to see it back. Like I just saw a kid the other day wearing a Champion t-shirt in the streets of Riga, and that was really nice to see. Like you can spot that logo anywhere. That's really,
Absolutely.
Really cool.
I'm a Champion.
Champion. Here's a question for Elīna. What are the top 10 items that Printful has been making the past 3 months? That's a lot of items, but maybe apart from maybe not 10, but apart from neck gaiters, what can you mention?
Yeah, I mean, we have shifted our product plans a little bit, you know, reacting to this situation. Let's see what I can actually reveal. So yeah, as I mentioned, we're working on a recycled t-shirt that is completely made from t-shirt scraps. So I think that's going to be a really exciting product, and the story behind it is also really good. So we're working hard on that to hopefully launch that during the upcoming months, once production gives us the green light that we can actually launch new products. Speaking of eco, we're also coming out with eco phone cases very, very soon. So stay tuned for that. Yeah, as I mentioned before, brands are going to be focusing on more performance types of apparel. So we have good plans for that category too, as part of our cut and sew range, all over printing. So some performance leggings are hopefully going to come out this year. Yeah, that's about all I can share at the moment.
Well, thank you for that. I'm wondering what puts the eco in an eco-friendly phone case?
It's actually made from things like soil, peppers, onions, things like that. So there's a lot that goes into that. So they're I think, biodegradable. So it's going to be a very interesting product.
The ingredients you named kind of sound like soup, but whatever works, I guess. Whatever works. All right. Let's take one final question for Carissa. The question goes, the more detail about the Bella Canvas story and the link between the story of LA and water usage. Like that's a big part of you guys saving water, I guess. So could you maybe add a few comments on that?
Yeah, you know, I'm glad that you asked, because for us, we've really been able to differentiate ourselves from so many other manufacturers because we are the largest premium t-shirt manufacturer in the Western Hemisphere. So having everything right here in Los Angeles really allows us to, you know, have full control over the majority of our manufacturing. For our water usage specifically, we use newer, more efficient dye machines, like I was saying, where we use 7 times less water than the average clothing manufacturer. That allows us to save up to 24 million gallons of water a week, which is huge. Any water that we do use goes through a filtration system that allows it to be reused for multiple dye runs. I touched on the fact that we recycle all of our excess fabric. We actually have truckloads that pick up daily to repurpose our fabric into bags, bibs, socks, you name it. So nothing really goes to waste. You know, I think the most important thing about us giving the insight into how we're making our products, like I said before, is people really care about how things are being made. And we have so many platforms where you can actually not only educate yourself, but your customers as well. Our YouTube channel is incredible. Like I was saying, we post a video every single week. We have a platform called FAM, which is really an educational course for anyone that's been in the industry for 20 years or someone that's very brand new to the industry, just to really give you a full background on not only just our brand, but what's happening in the industry and the shift that's taking place. We also have a ton of educational posts and information on our website. And, you know, Printful does a great job at including a lot of the insight that we give them on a lot of our products. So definitely, I would say we're one of the best when it comes to really educating everyone on just giving full detail into how we do things. And we're constantly challenging ourselves and, you know, finding new ways for us to continue to be more of a sustainable company.
That sounds good. That sounds excellent. Well, I think we're just about at the end of our discussion. I wanted to thank you guys very much for taking the time to participate in this little talk. It's been a blast. And Carissa, Michael, Elīna, thank you very much. Your insights were very useful, and I hope they were useful for our viewers as well. So yeah, thank you once more. And I guess
thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. It's been great. And it's my taking that Liat is now warming up to yes, Liat is up next, and she is gonna tell us about the top 5 e-commerce mistakes new stores can avoid. And Liat is a e-commerce marketing expert from Wix, and she's an expert in branding and e-commerce marketing, and she's worked with many successful tech companies. So I'm looking forward to what she's prepared for us. So Liat, fire away.
Hi, everyone. I'm really happy to be here today. I'm going to share my screen. So hi, everyone. My name is Liat, and I lead e-commerce marketing at Wix. So I'll quickly repeat about Wix. We're a website builder and e-commerce platform. We have over 500,000 active stores around the world. And I'm going to draw on our experience today, both as an e-commerce platform, as well as on the experience of the businesses running their stores on Wix, to share with you guys some e-commerce mistakes that you can avoid. And although this presentation does focus on mistakes that new online stores can avoid, I think that with the shifts that we're seeing at the moment in the world and businesses having to reassess how they do business, whether that means that they're shifting online for the first time or changing their suppliers and the products that they're providing, or even just dealing with new needs that their customers have. I hope that the presentation can be helpful to all of you. So I mentioned I have my Twitter handle on the slides. You can also hit me up on LinkedIn if you have any questions regarding the presentation today. I'll be happy to help you all. So with that, I think that there are so many affordable, accessible, and customizable platforms today that it's really easy to create an online store or even sell through online marketplaces. But ultimately, the growth of your e-commerce business really depends on your ability to acquire new customers and increase sales from your existing customers. But every marketing channel costs time, money, or energy, and it's going to be up to you to find the right balance for your business. Even for the most experienced e-commerce professionals, growing revenue and scaling up your business is a real challenge. And that being said, I think we all make mistakes. They're a natural part of growth, and they can be really great learning opportunities. But we'd probably all agree we'd still prefer to avoid them in the first place, if possible. So at least being aware of common pitfalls that other entrepreneurs have experienced in e-commerce can maybe help you avoid those mistakes and missed opportunities for your business. So I'm going to dive in now to some of the mistakes that you guys can think about. And the first one is going to be not knowing your target audience. So I know this one sounds like a really straightforward thing to do, but one of the biggest mistakes that we see business owners making is not clearly defining their target audience or really taking the time to think about what makes their customers tick. So, when you create a website, you can't really expect the right people to just show up on your website, even if you have the most amazing product that they really want or need. You need to let them know about your business and get them to notice your products. And to do that, you need to know who they are and how you're going to reach them. So, I always say without a clear idea of your target audience, you're essentially going into any marketing activity completely blind. But when you know your audience, even figuring out things like which images to use for your ads or which words to use in descriptions, which social channels you want to use to market on and which channels you're going to aggressively maintain. All of those decisions come from knowing your shoppers. So my first piece of advice is going to be really get hyper invested in understanding your potential customers. Think about everything from obviously what are their problems or pain points and what are they looking for, to what are their hobbies and interests. Are there groups or subcultures that they belong to? What do they value? And of course, where and how do they engage with content online? So by defining and understanding your target audience, not only will you create a brand message that really resonates with them, but you'll also be able to create a buyer journey that entices them to buy time and again. And that leads us directly into the second mistake, which is not knowing which e-commerce channels to choose. So, it's not enough to just know who your target customers are. You really need to know how it is that you're going to reach them best. Are they on Facebook? Do they shop on Amazon or eBay? Do they even read email newsletters? If you don't know the answers to these questions, your products probably won't get seen by anybody, no matter how great the products are. On top of that, I think e-commerce channels don't all work the same way or even cater to the same audiences. Some are really great for reaching shoppers who are searching for a very specific product, and others work well for reaching people who've previously interacted with your online store. So, selling online is an endless process of trial and error, testing and optimization. So I would say, don't be afraid of trying new ways to reach potential buyers, and just try and understand how the different channels work. So I think what really helps here when you're choosing a channel is starting by defining ideal results for your marketing efforts, right? Think about what it is that you're trying to achieve. Are you trying to attract potential customers who are actively searching for that product? Or are you trying to re-engage your past customers? Are you trying to reach out to totally new prospects? Are you trying to increase traffic or increase quality of traffic? And based on your goals, it will be much easier for you to select the right e-commerce channels for your business. So I've put up here some of the main e-commerce channels. Obviously, there are many, many ways that you can go about selling online, and I'll briefly touch on each of them. Starting with search engines, obviously these are excellent tools for targeting people who are actively looking for a product. These are shoppers who are already interested and they tend to convert better. So search engines like Bing or Google offer several advertising options like text ads, image ads, product listings, and even voice search marketing. And similarly, online marketplaces are also a great way to reach actively searching customers. They can browse through lots of products from different categories. So obviously, marketplaces like Amazon or eBay are very popular and can provide exposure to many shoppers. But smaller niche or local marketplaces might ultimately actually offer you more visibility for your products and can even generate sales at a lower cost. I'd also think about email marketing. This is really a great way to reach shoppers who are quite likely to convert because they're essentially either customers who already bought from you in the past or they were interested enough to give you their email address. So reaching out to them with new products is always a great way to drive sales. Another important effort is retargeting. It lets you reach out to shoppers who visit your website. As I'm sure any of you who have an e-commerce site already know that many shoppers abandon their carts during the shopping process. But the truth is that these shoppers are really still interested and they're much easier to convert. So doing things like remarketing on Google or Facebook, you add a unique tracking pixel to your website and then site visitors can be served ads later on to remind them about your products. And you can also set up automated emails for abandoned cart to remind shoppers about the products they were interested in. And then finally, we have social networks. So social networks let you reach buyers who may not actively be looking for a product, but they're open to new ideas or content. Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram, there's so many. They're all used by hundreds of millions of people around the world every day. And they all offer really granular targeting capabilities like lifestyle, demographics, or behavioral patterns. And I can say that we're actually seeing a lot of our e-commerce businesses using these channels in interesting ways. They're working with online influencers to promote their products. So many people are home and consuming different kinds of content. There's a real opportunity there. And I think once you've figured out how you're going to reach your customers, the next big mistake that a lot of businesses make is not really investing in their product pages on the website. So, potential customers don't get to physically interact with your products before they buy them in the world of e-commerce, but they do get to engage with your product pages. So you really need your product page to convince shoppers that they want to buy the product and that they want to buy it from your website and not from somewhere else. So it's critical that you really invest in great product pages and that you make them as enticing as possible. So some of the things that I can point out that are really important are, first of all, full descriptions of your products, features, specifications, benefits. All of those things really help. Of course, always choose high quality product photographs and videos if possible. Product reviews and testimonials are major drivers in converting buyers. The more positive reviews you can generate, the better. But you really want to make sure that those are valid and authentic. And finally, make sure that you optimize for SEO, right? So this is a whole art in itself and requires a lot of learning, but I'll say as a general rule of thumb, obviously make sure that you're including the keywords that you want to be appearing for in search results, whether that's for the product itself or any of those features, specifications, or benefits that you think your customers might be searching for. And I can say one of the most common mistakes that we see people making in their e-commerce websites is that they simply take the product description directly from the manufacturer or supplier and paste it as is, which is a very big SEO no-no, right? First of all, you're not creating your own brand identity, even in terms of connecting with the client. But more than that, you're using duplicate content, which the search engines are going to penalize you for and ultimately will hurt your ranking. So please don't do that. And once you've got your product pages set up well and organized, the next mistake that we can talk about is creating a poor shopping experience. So you really want to help your shoppers buy. Once somebody makes it through the initial steps of your sales funnel, now it comes down to closing the deal. But unfortunately, this is where a lot of e-commerce businesses see abandoned carts. So if a shopper has decided that they're interested in buying a product, try not to put obstacles in their way. So what does this mean? It's really about making it easy to buy. So number one, simplify your shopping cart, right? Don't make people fumble through a complicated checkout process. Eliminate as many steps as possible from the shopping cart. Keep buttons big, keep text small, and remove any unnecessary fields. Next up, this is actually one of my pet peeves as a shopper as well, is don't force buyers to set up an account in order to give you money, right? So I know that especially as a marketer myself, when we think about engaging with a customer, we really want to know as much about them as possible and create a long-term relationship. But you need to give people the option to do a streamlined checkout, to buy the product they want quickly, take their money, and then start worrying about how you're going to add them onto that email marketing list. Next up, I would say don't surprise buyers with unexpected fees. So making a purchase always involves a degree of trust, and you don't want to give buyers any reason to think that you're being anything but upfront with them. So anything like unexpected tax fees or shipping fees almost always drives away a fair amount of customers. So it's not to say that you should be absorbing these fees yourself. Simply provide this information well in advance of site visitors reaching the checkout page so that they know what they're going to be dealing with. And then finally, make sure that you're giving your buyers enough payment options. So you never want to lose a customer simply because they functionally cannot pay you. And today there are dozens of payment methods online, from accepting credit cards to digital wallets to Venmo or mobile payment solutions. So obviously you don't need to offer all of them. But again, I would find out which payment method your target audience prefers and then make sure that you're focusing on those ones. And the last one is true always, I think, for any business, and it's also especially true for e-commerce businesses, and that's making the mistake of providing poor customer care. So, customers are the lifeblood of any business, And not only is it easier and more profitable to keep an existing customer, but they'll probably keep sending you more business if you offer them, on top of amazing products, amazing customer service. So I would say poor customer care can mean anything like slow response time to customer requests or being impatient with them, definitely not offering refunds online. So all of those things are sure ways to lose existing customers or avoid getting new ones. But good customer care can mean many different things. How you respond to buyer messages on your website, how you respond to questions and comments on social media, how you address customer complaints on the phone or via email. But I think it always just comes down to be there when your customers need them and offer them your full attention and support to the best of your abilities. So I'm going to recap for us some of the stuff that we spoke about today. So definitely invest in understanding and knowing your target audience. Then think about which channels you're going to use in order to reach them based on your goals. Then you're going to create great product pages, and you're going to optimize and streamline your shopping experience. And then finally, obviously, give as much excellent customer support as possible. So, ultimately, from these and any e-commerce mistakes, keep learning so that you can sell more and grow online. Understanding the mistakes in the first place can help you better anticipate or avoid making them yourselves. But the more important message, I think, for me, based on other businesses that I see doing e-commerce, is you'll also learn that making these mistakes won't necessarily be the demise of your business. If you understand the mistake and you fix it, your business will continue to grow and thrive. And not only will your e-commerce website be optimized for success, but hopefully you'll be creating happy, loyal customers that keep buying your products time and again. So that's it from me today. Thank you.
Thank you, Liat. That was great, very insightful. Thank you, very informative. But as informative as it was, we have questions for you. So if you're ready, I'm gonna send a few questions your way now.
Sure.
Here's a very specific one. What about asking for an email address at checkout? So I'm a customer, I'm at checkout, and I'm prompted to leave my email address. Yay or nay?
I would do it post-checkout, not during the checkout. So I think it's always best to let people buy first. And then even as part of your thank you message or whatever it is, that would be the place that I would ask for it.
That's a good tip. Makes sense. Yeah, not to get them too confused as to why that email address is needed or for what purposes. So that's a really good one. And then another viewer is asking for some tips, how to find information about your target market, how to approach that research. Any extra tips?
So I think there are always a couple of sources that you can think of. If you already have a business and you have some kind of existing customer base, then I would interview them. I mean, you need to have some kind of idea of who the people are that are going to be using your product. I think looking at competitors and looking at who their customers are is really, really helpful. And then you can also do other kinds of research or surveys based on, what you've understood from that initial qualitative data. Go and try and get broader information, whether you're reaching out to similar categories of people through social media. In certain categories today, it's really easy to even buy some research online if it's a common category or a common target audience. So you can do that. And then I would say also start to invest in your own data. So, as your business grows and you build that business, you'll start to learn more and more about who are the people that are buying from you. And you can use that to keep reaching more, whether that's, retargeting those same users or even creating audiences that are really similar to those.
Mm-hmm. Those are good tips. Yeah, especially the one about, I think, analyzing your competitors, which is something maybe, I don't know, that people sometimes are a bit afraid to do, like afraid of going too far and end up into the copycat territory. But I think it's definitely worth checking out what others are doing. Of course, taking everything in with a grain of salt, but yeah, there it is. So keep an eye on what your competitors are doing. Here's another question about shopping carts, about the reasons why people abandon shopping carts. What do you think?
So, I think there's always an element of like buyer's remorse or people getting sidetracked with doing other things. So I think for many reasons, keeping that experience as streamlined as possible is best, right? You don't want people to get either confused within the process itself. You don't want it to take too long so that they give up because they need to go do something else. But I would say investing in any efforts you can around reaching them again is really important. So, for example, we know at Wix that e-commerce businesses that do use automated emails to reach out to those users who've abandoned their carts are very, very effective. So sometimes it's just a matter of timing, and the buyer will come back.
Mm-hmm. Right, so timing and a bit of work, obviously. Another question here about Wix future plans. Is there anything that you can reveal about any upcoming plugin or anything else like that? Something exciting for our Wix users?
So I don't know how much your users already know, but Printful and Wix are really integrated. So it's very, very easy to connect your Printful catalog into a Wix website and to sell that way. And everything is obviously automated and automatically synced and updated. So we already have that. And then I would say earlier this year, we launched EditorX, which is our new design tool platform. So that allows you to create really advanced design websites. So I think, that tool is obviously targeted at either people who have a lot of experience online creating websites, who come from a design background. But if you would want a website created with a tool like that, you could also find a professional who could do that for you if you were interested in that kind of site. And then in terms of like the e-commerce space, I think we have features coming out all the time. Some of the interesting ones that we have at the moment is we recently launched more marketplace integrations, so you can check those out. There are additional marketplaces you can sell on through Wix. We have our own product called Facebook Ads, where we have a smart AI algorithm engine that will run your Facebook ads for you. So you just need to connect that, set it up, and then we take care of all that heavy lifting on the marketing side. You don't need to learn the complexities of running ads on Facebook and how you optimize those campaigns. So.
Mm-hmm. Sounds good. All right. A bunch of fantastic tips. I hope you guys are taking notes. Maybe one last question. There are a bunch of questions from people who've just started their own brands, which is, of course, very exciting. So congrats to all you guys. And a simple question, really. How do I get the word out? How does one go about, getting the word out and getting out there for the first time? It is a bit scary.
I think you just kind of have to jump in the deep end and start doing things. So I would definitely invest in the SEO of the website. That can help. It's a longer term effort, but it will help. And you can start benefiting from that traffic. I would think about either social media that could be right for your business, or possibly integrating with another online marketplace and building up following that way. If you're thinking of using an online marketplace, you don't necessarily need to offer your entire product catalog there. You can choose a few items to sell that way. And then as people start to become familiar with your brand, they will come directly to your website over time to buy directly from you. And I think another really great thing that you can do now is to look for what I'm going to call a social media influencer. It doesn't need to be a celebrity. I would look for someone who has a lifestyle that really matches your product, right? So if you sell activewear, find someone who does a lot of sport or, talks about fitness online or teaches fitness online. And then I would partner with them. You don't have to go for the massive ones. I would go for one that either fits with me locally, or highly matches my target audience. And it doesn't have to be very expensive, but it can be really effective marketing.
Thank you. Well, yeah, thank you very much for your presentation and for answering all these questions. It's been very insightful indeed. Thank you very much. And now I think Nora is getting ready. Nora, are you ready? Just about ready.
I'm ready.
Exciting. Excellent. Before we get to Nora's bit, just a little note to our viewers. Thank you for your patience while we manage all these little technical difficulties we've been seeing here. It is our first time, so go on easy on us. Try to be patient with one another and just send warm vibes our way while we get through all these little bugs. Anyway, back to Nora. Nora is I'm on the same team as Nora, so it's such a pleasure to see her here. How cool is that? You're going to give a talk at a conference, like, hey,
I know you, yes.
Right? Familiar. So you're going to tell us about how Printful has been handling things so far, and very excited to hear what you've prepared for us, because Nora is one of our best communicators, I think, in the entire company, and she just knows how to get stuff done. So Nora, please take it away.
Right, thank you. That was a very nice introduction. Thanks. Very excited to start my presentation. Let me share my screen. All right, I hope you guys can see what I'm doing. As Mariana mentioned, my name is Nora, and I'm a project manager for the marketing team at Printful. I've been part of the Printful team for about 5 years now. I've been working on all sorts of projects over this time, and for the past couple of months, I've been a part of the our COVID-19 communications response team, and that's what I'm going to talk to you guys about today. So we're living through some unprecedented times, and it can be scary for business owners to figure out how to navigate that and how to address your customers during this time. And it has definitely been also a learning experience for Printful. So I'm going to share with you guys today 5 main lessons that we've learned over the course of COVID-19 and how we've communicated. So diving in, coming up first is don't be afraid to over communicate. We're living through some scary times right now, so you can use communication as a way to kind of create a sense of security for your customers. Let them know that you're still open for business, give them any updates that they should know. And generally, during times of crisis, it's better to over communicate than to under communicate. So the way Printful, how we came upon this lesson is that early on during the COVID-19 pandemic, maybe early March, when we started to feel the impact and we were starting to figure out what to do about it, we decided that we did not want to send a lot of emails in the very beginning because things were changing every day and we didn't want to spam our customers with daily updates. So instead, we decided that our strategy would be to publish a public FAQ page and then rely heavily on our internal channels to share that with our customers. So we posted it throughout the Printful dashboard. We shared it on social media in our Facebook group, Printful Insiders. And every time there was a new post, then we would share it, mostly internally. So after a few weeks had gone by and things were starting to become a little bit more, clear and more stable what was happening, we still noticed that we had a lot of the same trending customer questions. So at that moment, we thought, okay, maybe now would be a good time to send a bigger, a more mass kind of update email to explain the current situation and what was going on. So we did that. Here's a little bit of that email we sent. Basically, we talked about what our customers should expect. We addressed fulfillment times, how they were longer. We talked about what we were doing at our fulfillment centers, how we were handling shelter-in-place laws, the social distancing measures we were implementing, and what we were doing to tackle some of the challenges that we were seeing. And the feedback we got from customers was generally very positive. A lot of our customers reached out and they were glad that we had emailed them. They were surprised that they didn't receive more emails from us. And others even wrote that they weren't aware aware of some of the information that was in that email, even though it was publicly available on our site at the time. So while I do think it was the right call to, maybe go easy on the emails in the beginning, I do think this was a learning opportunity for us. And we understood that, okay, like we probably could have communicated, sent this email a little bit sooner than we did. Communicate with your customers, tell them what's going on, assure them that, things are still happening with your business. So you can communicate, via email, whether it's sending out a dedicated campaign with a bigger update, or if you're sending out other, newsletters, maybe transactional emails, then you can include, and I'm going back to the last slide, but you can see we have a blue banner at the top of that email. That's a banner that we include in almost all of our emails so that whatever we send, customers do get access to our COVID-19 info page. So that's something you can also include in some of your transactional or newsletter emails. Communicate any updates on social media, wherever your audience is most engaged, wherever you're most present. You can also pin posts on some of your social media profiles so that information is always there for your customers to access. And then you can also communicate a little bit more passively on your storefront, so customers have information as they're going through your store on their buyer journey. So you can publish some kind of a disclaimer or information on specific product pages that are maybe more popular and they're taking longer to fulfill. If you have any FAQs, policy pages, shipping pages, you should take a look at, whether you need to edit or add anything there. And you can add just a banner as well at the top of your page or a pop-up or something, so that as soon as customers land on your store, already they can see a place where they can find info if they're curious as to what is going on with your business in COVID-19 or any crisis. So quickly before I move on, here's another example of what we did at Printful. So this is our all over print neck gaiter, which is one of our most popular products right now, as Elīna mentioned earlier. And you can see on the bottom right-hand corner, we added, a disclaimer that because this is a popular product, fulfillment times are taking longer than we'd like. And it's just a good place to already inform our customers here in case this is the first place they interact with the product, that already we're setting their expectations. So, you want to communicate with your customers, communicate often, and keep them in the loop, and make sure you share information in whatever channels is easier for them and wherever they're expecting to hear from you. You want to meet them halfway where they expect to hear from you. At the same time, though, you do want to make sure that your message has value. So I don't know about you guys, but during March, I received dozens and dozens of emails from pretty much every company I have ever interacted with about what they're doing in response to COVID-19. And to be honest, not a lot of it was super useful or valuable to me. So that's something that you want to do, that just because, you can communicate often with your customers doesn't mean you should if you don't have something, important and valuable to share with them that they need to know. And generally, it's just good advice that whenever you produce content, it should be valuable to your customers, but especially during times of crisis, you want to make sure that you're sharing information that your customers need. So then you can think of some common questions that your customers might be wondering, like, do you have any products that are out of stock? When will I get my order? Are shipping delays expected? How is COVID-19 affecting your store? How can I get in touch with you? These are just a handful of questions that, customers might be wondering, but, think proactively. What do your customers need to feel safe buying from you? What are some things that would be useful for them to know right now? Be transparent and share that with your customers. And that's also, why we didn't want to send too many emails in the very beginning of this crisis, is because, everybody was sending things and we were worried that our message would get lost in the void. So, we waited a little bit until we had something substantial to say. So another example of what we did, we realized that we were publishing a lot of content that was helpful for our customers and informative for our customers. But our customers are also business owners, and they're probably getting a lot of the same questions that we are. So we decided to publish a blog post that covers, advice for our customers about what to communicate, where to communicate, resources that are available to small business owners, as a way to kind of elevate that and to provide value for our customers that they can then pass on even further to their customers. So communicate, keep your customers in the loop, make sure your message has value, be informative, factual, but you also want to still, be human and keep that human aspect. during crises, we get through them together. When people connect, we're stronger together. So don't be afraid to show that in your messaging as well. Show the person behind the brand. That's something that you might have as an advantage over some of the bigger kind of brands in the bigger big box retail stores, because you're a small business and you can share more about yourself and more about your story, and you can give a little bit of a personal touch in communicating with your customers. You can let them know that you appreciate their business, because at the end of the day, you are also a person. You're a person behind that brand running your business, and you're doing your best to keep things running and to keep orders going out and to keep your customers happy. Generally, especially now, during COVID-19, people are a little bit more patient than usual because COVID-19 is affecting every aspect of life, and industry-wide, across e-commerce and retail, everything is slowing down. So people kind of understand that this is just the way things are right now. But even so, it's nice to remind people that, okay, I'm still here, I'm a person, and I'm trying. So how we're doing that at Printful, we're sharing some behind the scene photos of, our teams at the fulfillment center. We're also being very transparent and honest with our customers about what's going on internally at Printful. So, we've communicated about our office staff. We're all working from home. I'm working at home, obviously. We've been implementing social distancing measures at all of our fulfillment centers. We're giving out protective equipment, staggering shifts. Work is voluntary for fulfillment staff. So we're being transparent about how we're dealing with it and how our team is dealing with it, because we are working very hard on overcoming a lot of challenges that we're seeing. And Printfullers, we care very deeply about our customers and about doing our best for our customers, so they can support their businesses. So communicate often, communicate valuable, important information, while also, stay genuine, stay human, while you talk to your customers during these times of crisis. And while you're doing all of this, it's also important that you stay current and be flexible, because things change often. They change every day. So you have to make sure that you're keeping track of what's going on, and then figure out whether or not you need to adapt and change anything. So, make sure that you follow the news. You can keep in contact with any partners and suppliers that you work with. Like Printful, we have our FAQ page. And then, based on information that you're getting, take a look at what you need to change on your store. Any campaigns that you need to adjust, check over your messaging and what you're communicating, and make sure it's all still current and up to date, and make sure that the way you're communicating also still makes sense. And this can be pretty overwhelming to do. It's easy to stress out and, every day read the news and try to remember everything that you need to do. So try to make it easier for yourself. We recommend, kind of making this part of your routine and scheduling maybe a couple days a week, and creating a list for yourself, and keep track of, okay, your different suppliers, maybe different news sources that you want to check out on, and then review your content and make sure that, okay, is anything now out of date? Do I need to update anything? So at Printful, this is one of the ways that we've had to pivot. I mentioned early March, we published an FAQ where we gave information about COVID-19 and what was going on. And this was the easiest and the fastest way for us to get this information out there. So it made sense initially. And it was just a basically textual kind of piece of content. And then with every update, it would be like a newsfeed style, or with every update, we would post it and add that day's date. So then you could scroll and then, read back about all the previous updates. This worked for a while because, again, it was easy, it was fast. But then, as the more weeks went by, the more updates we had to post, it just turned into a really long block of text. And we understood that this isn't efficient anymore, especially for new customers who are maybe just signing up and they want to understand what's happening with Printful and COVID-19. They have to get through this giant essay to understand a basic summary. So we put in the time and the resources, and we put together this dedicated COVID-19 landing page. So it's a lot easier to kind of skim and to understand what's happening. There's a section in the beginning that goes over a summary with the latest updates. There's a table with our current estimated fulfillment times. And then there's, sections below that with specific categories and questions, so that after you've read a summary, you can go to what interests you specifically. And this is easier for us to maintain as well. Like we also have a schedule where every other day we look at, what are the latest fulfillment estimates that we update? Are there any new trending questions from customers that we're noticing that we need to update? And then we maintain our page that way. So, stay current with everything that's going on, and, adapt when you need to, and stay true to your brand during all of this. So not everything that you publish has to tie back to COVID-19. It's okay to return to your regularly scheduled programming, but just be sensitive to what's going on. So right now probably isn't the time to promote, your top 10 cute summer festival looks because summer festivals are canceled. Instead, it might be a good idea to promote, posters or tips on how to make your home a little cozier while you're spending so much time there. Look at what's going on in the moment and figure out how you can get involved in a way that makes sense for your brand and that's going to be interesting for your audience. So that could be like a daily kind of challenge campaign, like a daily fitness tip, a daily baking challenge or recipe. You can publish, weekly self-care tips, just anything that's going to make sense for your brand and that will engage your audience. So one thing that Printful did is we started our small biz feature on our social media channels where we highlight some of our customers. And this works for us because right now, just a lot of people are talking about small businesses and how to support them. And we have the pleasure of working with a lot of customers who run small businesses. So this lets us be part of a topical conversation. It lets us highlight some of our, interesting, cool customers. It's beneficial for these customers that we're highlighting because they get some exposure to our audience. And it's also inspirational for all of our other customers. If you're just starting out, it's nice to see these examples of what other stores are doing. It gives you something to aspire to, and it kind of motivates you to get to where these other businesses are. So think about what you can do for your brand, what's happening in the world, what conversations are being had, and how can you get involved? So those are my tips. To sum up, you want to make sure that you communicate with your customers often. You keep them in the loop about what's going on, and share valuable, informative information that's going to be relevant for them while still, maintaining a human aspect. You also want to stay current, be ready to adapt when you need to, and at the same time, stay true to your brand. And I'll just leave, I guess, with one final piece of advice, is that COVID-19 is going to pass, but your business is going to stay. So the way you communicate now matters, and the things you say and the things you do now, your customers are going to remember that when this is over. So, make the most of it. Thank you. I hope this was useful and informative. That's it for me.
Thank you, Nora. That was great. That was very positive, actually. That was very nice to hear. A lot of actionable, useful tips for people to start using actually right away. But one recurring theme that I see in the comments, coming in nevertheless is, this idea of the slowdown. Like it is so overwhelming. Like it's all across the board in virtually all industries, and it's like a chain reaction. And obviously Printful has been slowing down a bit. It's like no hiding that, and consequently our customers have had to slow down a bit as well. And it seems that, well, you can put all these practical tips to good use. You can inform people about delays. You can do basically all the practical things that you just talked about, but how to cope with that mentally, because I think that's like the biggest block of all. It's just kind of hard to wrap your mind around all that's going on. What do you think?
How to cope with the slowdown, I guess?
Yeah, like how to cope with the slowdown, how to accept the changes, that you're writing on your delays and so. Like you can do all the practical stuff, but the mental pressure is still there.
Yeah. I mean, it is there. It is hard. I guess my main piece of advice is to, kind of put things into perspective and look at the bigger picture. Things are slowing down everywhere. Even companies like Amazon are reporting that things are taking longer for them to deliver. So, you're not alone in this. You're not the only one dealing with the slowdown. It is happening industry-wide across all industries pretty much. So just remember that, like it or not, this is kind of the new normal right now. Things are just slow. So, do what you can with that, and try to keep your head up and to keep moving forward.
Yeah, that's all we can do, I guess. Keep moving forward. Okay, well, thank you once again. It was really useful, really insightful, a bit of a flashback, to be honest, from the work we've been doing over the past weeks, but it's
Yeah.
totally fine. Totally fine.
Totally fine.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Jessica,
you.
are you ready? You are up.
I am ready. Let me share my screen.
Exciting.
All right, I know. All
So
right.
Jessica, oh, sorry, just a
No,
quick intro
please go
about
right
you,
ahead.
if you don't mind. So Jessica, I read that actually you're a bit of a storyteller, that you're not only a social media expert, but your thing is storytelling. So I'm excited to see if this theme is going to pop up anywhere in your talk that you're going to share with us now. And yeah, well, that's basically what I wanted to say. You represent With Savvy Media Marketing, social media expert, obviously. And you're going to talk about social media best practices during and post COVID-19. So very exciting.
Yes.
Dive right in.
Yes, so as you mentioned, I'm going to share my screen again. Yes, so I am a bit of a storyteller. I've co-written 2 books on storytelling. The most recent one is called The Laws of Brand Storytelling. So storytelling is my passion, but social media is my professional background. So I've spent my career working in social media and public relations for startups as well as larger companies. I've been earlier employee at TripAdvisor, and I also ran the social media program for Dunkin' Donuts, which certainly has a very thriving e-commerce side to their business. People really love that brand and love kind of any sort of merchandise that has to go with it. So today I've prepared a presentation to talk about how do we adapt during COVID-19, and also what are some best practices we can start to embrace in social media once this situation is over. So I wanted to start by addressing that we are all adapting to our new normal. And I am originally from Boston, as the Twitter handle Savvy Bostonian would hint at, but I actually have lived in London for the past 5 years. So these images that you're seeing on screen here come from London. So, you know, things like social distancing at my local Tesco supermarket, my face mask that I got a very kind of fancy one actually last year when I went to yeah, isn't it cool? It's from a company called Cambridge Mask Company. It's a retailer out of the UK. I think they do have some e-commerce ties to the US, but they're severely on back order as well. So anybody else who's feeling that right now, I'm sure they could empathize with you. But I had actually bought that back in October for a trip to India, and really came in handy when this situation hit. But also just seeing kind of businesses showing signs of support, saying, you know, a movie theater saying now showing we will be back, as well as the famous Paddington Bear now is also donning a face mask and a heart pin supporting the NHS, which is the National Health Service here. So the point I wanted to make in telling you this story is just like we've all had to adapt to our new normal, whether that's working from home, kind of facing changes in our business, you know, the way that companies communicate also needs to adapt. And just a couple data points here that I wanted to share that really underscore the current situation. We've seen nearly a 5,000% increase in conversations around COVID-19, specifically around unemployment or layoffs between February and March. We've seen over 1,100% increase in messages about quarantine and social distancing. And we've seen over 1,100% increase in conversations about helping others. And these are all conversations that data that Sprout Social pulled from social media. And I think this is incredibly powerful. You know, just as we have adapted our lives, the things that people are talking about online and, you know, really engaging around has also changed. And the point I want to make here is that we cannot continue with business as usual during COVID-19. And I wanted to share some examples of companies that have had to, you know, potentially got themselves in a little bit of hot water, should we say. One of the example here on the left you will see is from ASOS. It features a chain link kind of fashion face mask. And this was a carousel ad that happened to be running on social media. And the post says, "There's something missing from your wardrobe, and we think it might be these." So inappropriate timing, unlucky for ASOS. Another example comes from Axe, where they were running a TV campaign which featured a man at a basketball game with tons and tons of people around him. And they actually got flack from their customer base for using a TV ad that did not promote social distancing. And then lastly, I know this is an example from a food business, but I had to include it. Let's just all be thankful that we're not KFC and have an iconic ad that's called "It's Finger Lickin' Good" during the time of COVID-19. And this was actually an ad campaign that was running in the UK, but it also is a campaign that has run around the world. And the Advertising Standards Association in the UK got over 150 complaints on this before they told KFC to shut this ad down. So the next piece that I wanted to go into is, how do we navigate our new normal as marketers and business owners? And I'm going to share with you 7 of my kind of top tips on how you can navigate the current climate. So the first tip is that we must lead with empathy during this time. And I say this as, you know, I think for me, thinking about how my experience has been during COVID-19, I just feel incredibly grateful and lucky that I'm doing okay, I'm healthy. You know, my inconveniences during this time are very minor. And I think that for those of us that are doing okay, we have to remember that there's a lot of people who really are suffering. There's incredible levels of stress and anxiety during this time. People are coping with loss of loved ones. People are also falling ill. So the point that I wanted to make, and actually that Nora had made also incredibly well in her presentation, is how you communicate now sets such a powerful tone for how your business, for how kind of your business and customers perceive your brand. So how you run your business, how people perceive your brand. And this is where I also think we need to have empathy for one another as business owners, because, you know, I know that many of you are concerned about your businesses. You want to keep your business afloat. You're reliant on the income from your business. So we also need to have empathy for ourselves. But I also think there's a way that you can sell during this time and do it in an empathetic and respectful way. And I'm going to share with you some examples on how you can do that. So the first thing that you want to do is ask yourself a few key questions, and this will help you shape how you structure your content and communication strategy during COVID-19. So questions that I would ask would be, how are your customers doing? You know, I would expect that for every business out there, customers are going to have a range of folks like me that are doing relatively okay and are excited to kind of purchase different goods during this time, whereas others might be struggling a bit more. You also want to ask yourself, how relevant are your products to them at the present? You know, I think what we've heard from a lot of the previous presenters is, you know, many of you are in great e-commerce categories where, you know, clothing that you can wear at home is in high demand. So you're in a good place, but really look through your product line, because maybe, you know, a laptop case is not as relevant at this time as, say, a t-shirt or a coffee mug or a sweatshirt. Also, what lifestyle occasions are your products relevant to? So I'll share some examples on how we can look at people's new normal and how to think about some of those lifestyle occasions in the context of your brand. But spoiler alert, it's a lot of things that are happening at home and promoting social distancing. Also think about what holiday or special occasions are coming up. We all know Mother's Day is coming up this weekend. So, you know, I do think it's okay to celebrate Mother's Day, but think about some of those occasions and think about them in the context of people's new normal. And then the next piece is, when you think about pivoting your content strategy, you know, what could you do to help people during this time? What tips, advice, free programs can you create that will actually help and add value to your customers? And then last, but certainly not least, is there anything that your business can do to help your customers or frontline workers during this time? You know, we're seeing a lot of the market research that I'm seeing and data points are that consumers increasingly want to see businesses giving back during this time. And that can sometimes be tough for us as small business owners. But if you are able to either donate a percentage of your proceeds or donate some of your products if they're relevant to frontline workers, I think that's an incredible thing to do during this time. But I caution that, do it because it's the right thing, not because you want to do marketing around it. The next tip that I want to share is you want to clearly communicate any business or customer service disruptions. I think we've heard this quite a few times already with the past speakers, but I wanted to share a great example of this. So you might remember I gave ASOS a little bit of a ding for keeping an ad running that was potentially insensitive to their customer base, but they've also done some really great things during this time. And one example is they've done a COVID-19 FAQ Instagram story highlight, and it's actually a 14-frame Instagram story highlight. And it starts with a post from their Instagram feed, which talks about kind of the current state with COVID-19. And then it goes through with frequently asked questions that they're getting from their customers. So for example, can I still order from you? And they answer the question in the story. It's super simple. It's super easy to read. There's 14 frames in general. And you also could look at this across other social media channels. So for example, on Twitter or Facebook, you can pin a priority post as well. The third tip that I have is to adjust your visual imagery to reflect our current reality. And we heard another positive mention from Lululemon earlier. And I wanted to also give them a shout out because especially what they're doing on Instagram and other social media channels is fantastic. If you look at their visual imagery before COVID-19, you'll see lots of imagery of group yoga classes, which of course would not be appropriate during this time, as well as a lot of yoga retreat visuals. And if you see on the right, this is what they're currently sharing. So a lot of visuals of people alone doing yoga in the comfort of their home, relaxing with loved ones at home, as well as some very adorable furry friend photos. I guess you can do yoga with your dog, which is fantastic. And I think this is a great way to think about how you pivot that visual imagery to be respectful of our current reality. And I've also made a checklist for you. So, I'm happy to share these slides after the presentation if the Printful team wants to share these, but you can use this. Some things that you want to think about are to ensure that your images stay aligned with social distancing. Now is not the time to show pictures of people in crowded places. So really go through that asset library and make sure maybe you put those on the back burner until after COVID-19 is over. You also want to think about using visuals in a home, a backyard, or a garden setting, also known as the places that we're spending all of our time right now. Also think about shaping visuals around the current lifestyle trends. So think about things like baking, home office, fitness, fashion, so all of those kind of DIY at home styling tips, as well as staying connected. You also can think about leveraging user-generated content from your customers. I think this is a great best practice any time of the year, but just make sure you do so with their permission. Some ways that you can do this are put a call out in the bio of your social media profile where perhaps anyone who uses a specific hashtag, their pictures might be featured on your social media channels, or just simply go straight into the DM and ask them old school. I always recommend giving people credit as well by tagging them in the post as well as in the post caption. And then last but certainly not least, it's really great to share visuals of hope and thanking critical workers, but just be cautious to how much you brand them, because when you're slapping your logo on something or you're putting your products in the imagery, it could come off as trying to profit against the pandemic, and you want to be very cautious to how much you brand those. The fourth tip that I have is to pivot your copy and your tone of voice from selling to lifestyle. Now, I'm sure there's probably someone in a comment right now, because I can't see your comments in my screen saying, yeah, but we have to sell products. But one of the great things is you actually can sell in a lifestyle way. And I think REI has done a fantastic job of this. Now, REI typically, their hashtag campaign and their content strategy is around opting outside, experiencing the great outdoors. Now, what happens when you're not really supposed to leave the comfort of your home? Well, I'm glad you asked. So REI is showing some fun visuals like the one you see here, where it's a gentleman on his mountain bike and he's reaching out for what I hope is an empty beer can, but might be a full beer can. And the caption reads, "Friday motivation, what motivates you?" Yes, it's humorous. I do think it's okay to use humor in this situation. I would just advise to be sensitive about the type of humor that you use. But when you look at this post, for me at least, it really makes me smile. It makes me chuckle. You know, we're all kind of having a long week, and that's great. Another example is they're running these hashtag REI challenges where, you know, on a specific time cadence, there's these challenges you can do through social media. One of them was running the tiniest mile. So whether you run from one end of your house to the other, or you do laps around your backyard, it's a great way to kind of get your community involved and share the content. Another example here is REI makes lots of camping equipment, so lots of tents. And I've seen a lot of inspiration for how you could use your tent during this time. So this example here is about transforming your backyard into a star-studded cinema. And what I like about this is it links to a blog post on the REI website where they have all of these different kind of styling tips for a movie night in your tent, whether it's in your living room or your backyard. And that's a great way to link to your products and also sell without doing that kind of hard sell through your posts. Here's also a checklist for tone of voice. And my recommendations here are to only reference COVID-19 when it's related to a business update or shipping delays. So a way to think about this is, say you structured a post where you said, because of COVID-19, we're spending a lot of time at home right now, and I wanted to share with you some great ways you can style, you know, your t-shirts that you have at home. The more that you reference it in that way, it could come off as though you're marketing against COVID-19. So instead of saying because of COVID-19, you might just want to say, hey, you know, here's some great ways you could style your t-shirt at home, and you know, get people involved and end the post in a question to share their favorite ways to style their t-shirts at home. Another tip is to not spread COVID-19 rumors or to repeat unsourced or unverified claims. You know, this is the job of the World Health Organization, your local news outlet, or the local hospital in your area. It's not our job as business owners to kind of repeat that information. Let's leave that to the experts. Another tip is to not go for the hard sell, which we've talked about a lot with product posts or ad copy. There's a lot of ways we can kind of treat this more softly with a lifestyle message that actually will drive people to purchase your products. I also recommend being empathetic, but keeping it simple, positive, and aligned with your brand values. You don't need to completely change your tone of voice for this time. You know, if you are kind of sassy or snarky, you don't have to change your tone of voice, but what I recommend is really adapting it to be more relevant. So that's this last point here. Just be sensitive to the topics covered. And when in doubt, you know, ask friends and family if you think something is insensitive and get their feedback before you post it. And then another tip as well is just to focus on adding value. There actually is a lot of research out there now that people do want to see brands be helpful, inspiring, and motivational. And we all have great opportunity to do that. The fifth tip that I have is to create content and programs that help and add value. And I have some examples here to share with you. So one is Afternoons with Anthro, which is anthropology. And they're doing video content on Instagram that's around styling tips, gift guides, recipes, lots of great lifestyle content that gives people value. They're using a mix of their employees as well as influencers. And I still think now is a great time to leverage influencer marketing if you can afford this as part of your business, or ambassador marketing. I'm seeing a lot of smaller businesses leveraging ambassadors instead of influencers. And I think it's great that if you are an amazing baker, but you happen to make t-shirts and hoodies, why not share that? You know, people want to get great advice no matter where it comes from right now. Another example is from Casper. So Casper makes direct-to-consumer mattresses. They've somehow made mattresses cool on social media, and they've done it by evangelizing sleep. And they're funny about it, but they tackle more serious topics like mindfulness, wellness, as well as things that are barriers to us having great sleep. And they're doing an Instagram live series with experts around how to sleep during uncertain times. Another example comes from Tom's. Now, you might have heard of Tom's shoes. They are the 1-for-1 company. So for every pair of shoes that you buy, they give a pair of shoes to a child in need. But during COVID-19, they've actually set up a COVID-19 global giving fund. And now for every $3 they make, they're going to donate $1 to the global giving fund for COVID-19. And that goes to helping different charities and nonprofits that are impacted during this time. And then another great tip comes from H&M. So H&M is running a hashtag campaign called At Home with H&M. And they do this on Instagram as well as other social media channels. And you can see here, I love how creative they are with daily fashion kind of style themes. So they challenge their audience to do, mirror selfies, stripe up your life, red carpet realness at home, curtain chameleon, or kitchen catwalk. I mean, if you're hashtag bored in the house, these are fun things to do and could actually even be a great way for you maybe to attention hack a little bit for your business, because if you have some H&M garments at home, why not pair this with one of your t-shirts and maybe see if you could bake it into the Instagram story feed as well. So the sixth tip that I have is to tell your story on your brand and your personal channels. So we talked a little bit about how I am a very passionate brand storyteller. I think every company has a story to tell and every individual has a story to tell. And one small business that I think does an incredible job is called Seek and Swoon. You can follow them on social media. I think especially on Instagram, they do a great job. It's founded by a woman out of Portland, Oregon named Hala. So her name, it sounds like Yala, but it's Hala, as you can see here in her caption. And something that she does every so often is when she starts to see a big influx of new followers, she does a post on the Seek and Swoon Instagram channel introducing herself and shares the backstory of how Seek and Swoon was founded, which I think is a really awesome idea as an ongoing content piece for your channels, because beyond every small business is a business owner and they have a story behind why they started their business. And they also have stories behind their different products. And I also want to make the point here that you should do it on your business account, but also don't discount your personal channels, because your friends and family are excited about what you're up to. And, I say this as someone who's moved to London. I've lived in London for the past 5 years, and I actually think my personal social media channels are more important than ever, because people say to me, well, what are you doing professionally now? So having some of those professional updates and telling the story of what you're doing is really great. And I bet you your friends and family also really want to buy from you as well. So what kind of stories can you tell as a business owner? Well, I always recommend starting with your why. Why did you start a business in the first place? We always have a great story behind this. What's the inspiration behind your designs? Is this something that your mom always said to you, or is like your famous tagline? What's the story behind where that happened? Like, for example, my dad always says, you are the hero of your own story. I mean, no wonder I'm passionate about storytelling, right? But my dad always said that. That's not an original quote, right? But say I made merchandise around that, I would want to tell the story of how my dad always said that growing up. What have you learned as a business owner? Everyone has gone through kind of ups and downs and all of these crazy, funny moments, these viral wins. Tell those stories, especially when I was working for Dunkin' Donuts, I did all of the crazy cool, like I got to live tweet from a red carpet. We challenged Jimmy Fallon to dance off on Twitter. I got to do all of these crazy cool things as my business. So even if you're not challenging celebrities to a dance off on social media, I guarantee that you've got some funny stories or interesting stories in there that you can tell. What about lifestyle stories? How are you spending your time? What are you up to? What is adding value, as well as some of those funny moments? And then last but not least, what about your customers? What are those stories from your customers? How are they using your products? And I want to share with you a great example from Seek and Swoon, because I think they do a really great job using user-generated content for storytelling. So here's an example here with the most adorable little girl in a pink tutu, and Seek and Swoon makes beautiful blankets and throws. You can see their blankets here and here. And the caption reads, "Quarantine and this cutie has me evaluating the benefits of wearing a tutu around the house. Desperate times call for desperate measures." And they give an attribution to the customer who posted this. I love this. It's aligned with the story of their brand. Now, granted, they make, different kind of throw blankets. So their brand is very relevant during this time, but I love how human this is. And then another example here is we're trying to recognize 3 things every day that we appreciate. Today's are naps, fur babies, and cozy blankets. What are your 3 for the day? So I think this is a great way to also bring in some of those inspirational messaging that we spoke about earlier. So my 7th and last tip, so hopefully I'm not running too over on time here, is to experiment with new platforms and content types. I think that now that we're all spending more time at home, and hopefully we're getting maybe bitten by the creative bug, now is a time to experiment with new channels. If you've ever wanted to launch a podcast, learn how to make better videos for YouTube, or my new favorite social media channel, TikTok, if you've ever wanted to experiment with these channels, I think now is the time, because what you can do is spend time, really absorbing content on these channels, Google searching how to create content for these channels, learning and absorbing, kind of other business content that you think is interesting. And I wanted to expand a little bit on TikTok specifically. So I've opened 2 channels on TikTok, one for Jessica Julia, which is business content, and then one for Savvy Bostonian, which is tied to my lifestyle blog. And I'm just having so much fun with it. The organic virality of TikTok is amazing. And I think my best video so far has over 3,500 views, which is probably kind of on the small side, but you're seeing some people open TikTok accounts and get tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of views, which is pretty crazy. And I've actually had the opportunity to meet with TikTok for some of the work that I do. And they, through their ad solutions, they do have direct links to e-commerce, but I do think at some point there's going to be easier ways to link to content. But what's great is you can link to your Instagram or to your YouTube. So it's a great way to actually convert people there. And I wanted to share just some examples of YouTubers that I've been following that I've been getting value out of. So Dina Rodriguez is a big Printful. She has her own Printful shop, and she also shares a lot of tips around Printful on her channel. So I wanted to give her a shout out. Virginia Kerr does awesome video tips for social media. And I think the way she structures her videos is really awesome. John is a fellow Bostonian who does amazing travel content. But what I love about him is he does a lot of like top 5 listicle content. So he'll be like top 5 kind of countries in Europe that are underrated to go to. And he uses the green screen feature of TikTok in a really cool way, which could be inspirational for you. And then Krūze Lim is a really amazing fashion influencer. And she has a really great mix of styling content as well as just really funny content. She does a whole series called Your Rich Mom, which is really funny and tongue-in-cheek. And I think it could be great inspo for all kind of the fashion brands out there. And I've just included here some quick tips of content that could work on TikTok. I want to make the point here that, you don't have to be a good dancer to be on TikTok. I don't dance on TikTok. I'm horrible at dancing, but there's a lot of other ways that you could leverage this content. And I encourage you to consume a lot of content on TikTok so you can kind of start to see what works really well. So wrapping up here, because I think I'm over time, you want to make sure that you lead with empathy during COVID-19. Make sure to clearly communicate any business or service disruptions. Social media is a great place to do that by pinning posts or using your Instagram story highlights. Make sure to adapt your copy, your tone, your creative to be sensitive to our current reality. Everyone is going through something different at this time. People have good days and bad days. And, I think a tip that I can offer as well is, actually spend some time, checking out your customers. Maybe use Instagram as an example. Look at their Instagram stories. See what they're going through. It's a really good way, to do some market research, but also just to really be attuned to what they're going through and what types of things they're up to. Also ask yourself, what can you do for your customers? How can you add value? And then last but not least, let's let's see this time as an opportunity as well. Now is the time to test and learn with new content, new platforms, learn new skills. Just make sure it adds value. So thank you so much. I'm happy to take some questions if we have some time for them.
Jessica, thank you so much. So many great examples and a lot of fun examples too. I mean, the tiniest mile one, that was so cute, like really terrific stuff. Who knew? And again, a very positive, insightful, enlightening presentation. So good to get some positivity out of these challenging times. Before I ask you one question, maybe we had a request actually. Could you please go back to the ASOS slide where you had the what do you call those Instagram stories? That was a request from someone. Yeah, somebody really wanted to take a look.
Let me pull that up. I'll show you. Do they? I assume they probably want to see the one that has, let's see, the one where the story frames are in there with the copy.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's the one.
Great. Let me. I can share my screen again.
Yes.
Why don't we keep it up? Okay. Let's see. We'll keep it up in this view, and I'll make it big again.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah.
And then one quick question, one quick tip for someone who's just starting out with their brand on social media. Again, how to dive in, how to not get scared, what to post, what to expect, like how to just go.
How to just go. Well, here's the thing is, I think people put a lot of pressure on themselves to be perfect on social media. If you're just starting, now is the time to test and learn. So I would recommend, number one, be consistent. So the way social media algorithms works is they do reward consistency. So it's not good to do like one post on a Monday and then wait 2 weeks to post again. I recommend trying to aim aspirationally. If you can do a post a day, that would be great. And the way to take some pressure off of yourself is to create some content ahead of time, so you're not like scrambling every day to have something to post. So I would recommend that. I think another great thing you can do is just think about, documenting your journey a bit. So if you're at home and you're kind of going through some of these things day to day, and you have kind of certain merchandise that you create, how can you integrate that into your day to day? So if you make coffee mugs, can you start using just some Instagram stories to document your day? So, capturing content with your products throughout the day is a really great way to build an asset library. So when you make your coffee or your tea in the morning, take a picture with your coffee mug. If you're getting dressed for the day, take a picture with your great, t-shirt or your hoodie that you're wearing. If you're out and about, maybe take some pictures with the face mask that you have. So really thinking about how you can document and kind of don't be afraid to put your personal face on it in this time, because you're not maybe going to be able to do like actual photo shoots with models or friends and family that you've corralled in to do that. But you also can maybe send some merchandise to friends and family and ask them to do the same. So I would say, again, to summarize, be consistent, try and aim for a post a day. Don't put so much pressure to be perfect. Test, different images and videos and stories, and really do a little bit of research on the nuances of each social media channel. Because, for example, things like Instagram, you can either put up to 30 hashtags in your caption or the first comment. I really recommend, I like the first comment because I think it junks up your copy in your bio. But everyone is different, has different opinion on that. So start to think about some of those tactics you can test. And, again, don't get discouraged if you don't have a huge following overnight. I think it takes a lot of patience just to start slowly and start to see what works.
Thank you. Very good. So to the person who asked this, hope you took notes. So thank you very much, Jessica, for that. Okay, so Diana, are you ready? Welcome. Hi, so happy to see you. I'm very excited to hear what you have prepared for us, because we've heard all the other perspectives, so to speak. We heard what Printful has been up to so far. We have heard the opinions from our partners, what social media is doing, what's going on in marketing, but now it'll be interesting to hear the perspective of an actual business owner, of a store owner, and you're the founder and designer of District of Clothing. And I think you also have years of experience under your belt and a lot of interesting things to share with us. So fire away, Diana.
First, I just want to say thank you so much for this opportunity to be here today. I also would be totally remiss if I didn't thank Printful, just for all of the consistency and the help over the last couple of years that I've been working with you all, and especially during this challenging and unprecedented time. I got really emotional a couple of days ago on social media. I saw a post that had like some of the employees that were, I think, maybe in the LA office or in the LA fulfillment center. And we're just incredibly grateful, especially as small business owners, knowing that we've been able to stay in business because of you all and your dedication to helping us. So thank you very much for that opportunity. I'm very much a nervous speaker, so if you'll just bear with me, I'm such a creative. I prefer to be behind the scenes. So I've written a couple of things here. What I'm really most excited about actually is that the majority of what I've written here has already been said today. So I feel like I'm kind of on a good path here. So I feel a bit encouraged about that, and I am ready to get started. So today I want to talk to you all about how to pivot during this pandemic. I'm a designer of a creative direction business along with my online retail shop, District of Clothing, which is what has me here with you today. I've been a full-time entrepreneur for 10 years now, and I've had District of Clothing. We're now in our 5th year. I constantly will say we, because I think I include like my family members and my occasional interns and, you know, some of my 1099 employees as like very much a part of the business. But for the most part, it is me. So if you are also a solo entrepreneur, know that I understand your pain and your frustration and your excitement and the highs and the lows, because I'm right there with you. Okay. If I go down to the next one. Yes. Okay. So like you, I've been home trying to be productive in work, but initially these unprecedented times didn't permit much work to occur. For the first week or so, I was just really worried and fearful and scared and stocking up and checking in on my parents and trying to do as best as I could. And I wasn't even in a place where I was able to work. That did not come for maybe 2 weeks. I probably wasn't able to work just as a creative. I was feeling it quite differently. But once I got through the initial shock, fear, sadness, and the grief of the pandemic, I was ready to get back to work. Unfortunately, at that time, I didn't quite know what getting back to work was going to be because my main hustle, I call District of Clothing my side hustle baby, and my main hustle is a creative direction business. And at that time, this is early March, I wasn't hearing from my clients as frequently as I normally do. But that actually gave me a little bit of time to start working a bit more with District of Clothing. And so my steps, starting with the very first, were both very organic to myself and my brand. And I think that's where we should start. You have to start when you're working on your pandemic pivot with your brand. Consider your brand in its most authentic and natural state. I think it's important for you to revisit your mission, your value statement, and reconnect with the reason why you're doing what you're doing. So for a brand to be considered authentic, it needs to be perceived as reliable, respectful, and real. And you have to constantly ask yourself what you're doing to make that happen and to make that come across to your clients, your customers, and your potential customers as well. For District and myself, it's to encourage progression, inspire action, and to support self-love. And so I strongly believe that because I've always maintained a direct and very authentic connection to my brand, it's allowed District of Clothing to have, even just one be here for 5 years. And then also it's allowed our community to want to continue to grow with us, as opposed to us just being a fad or a quick trend or a t-shirt that somebody buys and then throws away. I think our desire to remain connected to our value points, and it has really allowed people to continue to want to connect with us. And in speaking about our community, that's what leads us to our next slide. Serving your audience. And if I could, I probably would have put serving your audience sincerely here. When you're considering your pandemic pivot, it's important to serve your audience sincerely. Now more than ever, it's imperative brands have a purpose and take a stand in something that consistently resonates with their community, one that is attractive and inspiring enough to organically drive belief-driven consumers to want to post about it and create organic promotion. When I talk about belief-driven consumers, sorry, we're getting some orders here, which is awesome. My phone is buzzing quite a bit. So thank you all for supporting me at this time. Let me start over again, talking about your audience here. When you're considering your pandemic pivot, it's important that you serve your audience sincerely. Now more than ever, it's imperative brands have a purpose and take a stand in something that consistently resonates with their community, one that is attractive and inspiring enough to organically drive belief-driven consumers to post about it and to create organic promotion. So to me, this means that brands must share their purpose and their values and their belief at every touch point and with every product to break through in the overwhelmingly congested digital marketplace. As our last speaker was saying, Jessica, she's referencing brands that have millions of dollars for ad buys, and they probably have 10 to 20 to 50 to 100 people working on their social media. And I'm sure guys like you, it's just us, right? So we have to make sure that we are being deliberate, that we're being authentic, and that we're being honest and vulnerable as well. The good news, I believe, is that the belief-driven consumers, they're optimistic, they highly value transparency, they perceive BS quite quickly, in my opinion, and they also believe that they can change the world. They want to change the world, they believe they can change the world, and they will 100 million% support brands with that same value system. So I think it's now more important than ever, as similar to many of our previous speakers said, that you continue to act with integrity, you communicate with integrity and authenticity, and that you provide a vulnerable leadership, not just for yourself, but also for your community. Let me take a quick break and say, I use community when I'm referencing my consumers. I don't like to call them customers or consumers because I feel like we're all in this together. So I actually call them my community members. And but when you hear me say community, I'm actually referencing consumers. Okay. It is probably, I think, fairly certain that consumers expect companies to interact with integrity and authenticity, and that this also helps to build the trust and influences customer buy-in. So once they believe that they can trust you, they will feel comfortable giving you their money. They'll feel comfortable maybe purchasing from a phone or a mobile device versus their computer. They'll feel comfortable purchasing a product without having felt it or seen it in person. They'll just feel comfortable knowing that you are a brand that has integrity and an authenticity, and they'll feel comfortable actually giving you their hard-earned money. To be clear, buy-in is when people feel connected, inspired by a particular brand, and they are emotionally invested in their success. And this is what I call the belief-driven consumer. And this is what I consider my customer base, my community base. They are all belief-driven. We have very similar hopes and aspirations. And while our goals might be different, we all have a similar desire to progress and for progression just in general. That's what helps to bind us all together. Okay. So given my community is belief-driven and like me, probably was worried, anxious, and working from home, I wanted to communicate with them and serve them in a manner that was honest, vulnerable, positive, and helpful during this time. I wanted to pivot to the needs of the society, of my community that was also dealing with COVID-19. And that's when I decided, okay, our top selling item is the Dreamer Doer, which encourages people to have some sort of a dream or a vision or some sort of a goal, and then to take time to actually go out and seek that. And I kept saying to myself, in order for me to be the woman behind this brand and encouraging other people to do what they think they should be doing during this time, I need to make sure that I'm doing that as well for folks. And that brings me to getting started with pivoting, not panicking, and common purpose. Smart coronavirus pivots utilize the resources and skills a company already has, creating a product or service that is in demand and finding a way to serve the population in need. I want to be very honest with you all and let you know that I'm sensitive to the fact that many of the things I'm going to share with you didn't happen overnight. Like I said, my business is 5 years old. We're 5.5 years old at this point. And some of the marketing, some of the ideas, some of the implementations, they've had some momentum leading up to this. So it's not like things just happened overnight, but I hope that you will feel that you can still implement some of these pivots into your shop now, or planning for whatever happens in the next, 6 months to 2 years. Who knows how long this is going to be around. So I'm going to try to speak a little bit more slowly, because I'm going to give you a step-by-step list of what I did for my pandemic pivot. And again, you can also look on your phones or however, I think some people are on YouTube, but my website is districtofclothing.com. It's DISTRICT of clothing, CLOTHING.com. So I got started about, I think it was like March 13th. And I really suffer from imposter syndrome. So for me, even just like writing a caption can take me a whole freaking hour, or I just might not post it because I get nervous. If it's for a client, I can do it in my sleep with my eyes closed. If it's for me or for my brand, it takes much longer. But with COVID-19, I started almost like very organically, very naturally posting relevant social media posts. You can also probably follow along on my Instagram handle, which is @districtofclothing. Okay, so I think it was March 13th. The very first post we did was talking about what Isaac Newton did in the 1600s when there was, I don't know, a pandemic or something, and he came up with the theory of gravity, and a lot of people responded to it. We had several people sharing it, and I probably got maybe 30 to 40 follows just from that. And that moment I was thinking okay, hey, I'm gonna be home. I'm gonna be, full of energy. I'm gonna be super productive. Until the next day happened, and I don't think I got out of bed for 6 hours because I was so depressed and worried and freaked out and just, dealing with the same thing that we're all dealing with. Initially, these posts were, and they still are, rather timely COVID-19 resources regarding flattening the curve, social distancing, and working from home. And as I continued to move forward with that, they were all sort of related to our new normal. So I'm definitely not posting anything that's fun or fashion forward. I'm not really a salesperson, as you can tell. I'm much more of I like to tell stories. I like to remember, nostalgic things. I changed the way that we were posting. So as opposed to just posting our encouraging messages with the white background, I started adding different colors. And I felt as a creative director and a designer, that these colors could help maybe either invigorate someone or bring happiness, or be more calming. So we were kind of adjusting the posts with different colored backgrounds as well as different fonts. And then I just very naturally started to adjust my social post schedule. And that was just another natural thing that happened according to my new insanely high screen time. So I don't know, say my average screen time on my phone might be 2 to 3 hours. Well, during the stay-at-home orders, I was on social media or on my phone upwards of 8 to 9 hours. And once I started noticing I was on my phone more, I was oh, well, maybe I should post more. I'm noticing that I'm on social media more, so I bet you other people are too. Let's start to post more and take advantage of this screen time. Another thing that I did was I commented more on other people's posts. And a lot of times these would be customers or part of our community. And then it might also be someone who we weren't following, but if someone maybe commented on one of my posts, then I would go to their page and like several different pictures or posts and then maybe respond to something. I was checking in quite a bit via social media on our highly engaged community members, and responding to comments and just saying, you know, we're thinking of you, we hope you're okay. And this was not anything more than just me being human and being at home on my couch and wanting to connect, you know, and also wanting to thank people as people were continuing to wear clothes from the brand at home. I was getting more inspired and more emotional, if I could be honest. And I just felt like my community was there for me, and I wanted to be there for them too. Another thing we did, which I think it was Jessica that mentioned earlier, was we did a couple of posts that were thanking the nurses and the frontline workers. And these were posts that we didn't do, but they were like posts by either other women artists or women of color artists. And we would always, you know, tag and give them credit for the artistry, which is a way to also, like, you know, give someone else a pat on the back and also give them exposure as well. And then, you know, in the last couple of days, I've needed some like COVID comedy, you know, so I'm not funny, but I think I kind of have a sense of humor occasionally. And it's like, you know, once I noticed like the laundry that kept piling up, I was like, this is insane, you know, and I was kind of like trying to tell myself some funny jokes and I'm just laughing. I'm like, well, maybe this is funny. So I would post, you know, my little laundry joke and we got a great response from it. I think, like Jessica was saying, and several of the other speakers as well, it's great to just be honest and human, and we don't know what's happening. We're all fumbling day by day and moment by moment. I think day by day was another post on a day that I was having a really bad day. It's just like, okay, we're gonna get through this day and we're gonna get through it together. Like, if all we have together at this moment is social media, then hey, at least that's something that we have together. Okay. All of that led me to a new pivot. Let's go to our next slide here, which is the launch of the Common Purpose collection, which I don't know if you can see, but I'm wearing here today. Common Purpose was, again, I have severe imposter syndrome. So Common Purpose was actually designed in 2019, and I kept pushing back the release date because I just was too nervous to launch it. We eventually, I eventually just thought, you know, instead of waiting until I'm actually comfortable to do this, let's just set a finite date and I'll launch Common Purpose in August or September of 2020. And it can be a collection that will allow us to encourage people to vote in the 2020 American presidential election. So my goal, again, I started doing some marketing. I started, you know, pulling some things together. I was working on photo shoots. I had scheduled a couple of my favorite photographers, and then coronavirus hit, and, you know, we're getting some momentum with the social media. And I kept thinking about Common Purpose and wondering, you know, how it was going to work, if we were going to have an election like we normally do, or people are going to be voting from home. You know, I was just thinking of all these things. And then one day it sort of hit me, why don't we switch and do this pivot? And instead of launching Common Purpose in August or September, why don't we launch it now? And our tagline is, because now, you know, the only way we're going to get through this together. So we have a common purpose. It's light, but it's also very intentional. And to me, it feels good. And we've gotten a really great response from it. So with Common Purpose, we decided to donate a portion of the proceeds to support COVID-19 relief. Tomorrow will actually be 1 month to the day since we first launched, and I'll be sending out a new email noting who we're going to be supporting with this, or I should say which organization we're going to be supporting with this. But the response here has been just so, I mean, has just been awesome. I get a little ping every time, you know, we get a new order, and I get a notification from Printful, and just fills me up to see people coming together with the common purpose, wanting to do something for the better good to help other people. Aside from using our best-selling items, and when I say best-selling items, that's essentially just like a hoodie or a t-shirt and the dad hat, we implemented the neck gaiter, which I can't even speak, you know, it's just been awesome, as well as the crop top. And now we've been getting several orders for the neck gaiter, people noting that this is for a gift for Mother's Day. So it's like, it now sort of has like a continued purchase reason, I guess I'll say. Okay. On the website now with the steps that I changed for the for the website is I removed the hero image. Excuse me one second, that's my puppy. She's trying to get away. Sorry guys, this is homeschooling. This is real, like working at home, right? Okay. For the website, I removed the hero image from the website to increase the load speed, and I think it increased it by like 0.6 seconds, which doesn't seem long, but it actually is a long time, and it really, I think, made a difference. Also on the website, I put the common purpose collection at the very top, and then I included some marketing language there. So it says the common purpose collection, which is what it normally just would say, the common purpose collection. But here I added, because the only way we'll get through this is together. And then again, more marketing language, purchase supports COVID-19 relief. Again, I remember, and I don't remember the who it was, but someone, I think it might have been Liat, was talking about language. And so we changed quite a bit of the language on the website to adjust to our new normal. One example of that is, instead of just saying sale, we now have a work from home sale, which has been doing fairly well too. It kind of caught me by surprise. I added the highlight bar at the very top, noting that order timelines may be longer than usual as we work to keep our team healthy and safe, or safe and healthy. We added a gift card option, which was really awesome, of Shopify. I used the Shopify platform to sell. And it, the gift card option is usually only a part of a much higher level, but I guess it's like a part of a different, I don't know what the word is I'm trying to use, but it normally is not available on the level that I use, but they're now making it available for all shops. So that was great. And then lastly, I removed several items that weren't moving. Okay, I see that I'm really moving slowly here. So 2 more slides and we're done. Marketing, I believe again that I'm probably duping everything that I said earlier, so I'll swing through this fairly quickly. But number one, I think it's really important to over communicate, and this is what I did. The more I was in touch with my community, whether that was via comments or DMs or emails or Facebook Messenger, the faster I respond, the better. I was, letting everyone know that I honestly don't necessarily know when you're going to get this, but we're working to keep everyone safe. In our in our email marketing that's going out tomorrow, I'm going to share, 1 or 2 of the photos from the Printful post a couple of days ago, so that they can see, like, these are real people in here. We're really working hard for you, and we're trying to get things out. Everyone's been incredibly kind and very well responsive thus far, and me letting them know, I don't know when you're going to get your items, but I promise you that they're coming. I think kind of flipping back to what I said earlier is, people trust us, and so they don't believe that I've just taken their money, or that I'm not that they're not going to get their items. Like, they absolutely feel that it's coming, and they understand what's going on. So the more you over communicate, the better that they'll feel. I should also note that I kicked off my marketing by writing an incredibly vulnerable and honest email that took me about 2 weeks to write. And I wrote that in the email, that it's taken me 2 weeks to write this, where I was letting them know, like, we were planning, in Q3 and Q4 for our 5th year in 2020. And we were looking forward to collections and to collaborations, and never once did I plan for a pandemic. And after listening to Nora, I'm actually thinking about adding that to the website, because I think it could be helpful. We got a great response from that. but I just believe it's strong, and I'm happy to share if you guys want me to email it out. But I think it's just important that we try to be as honest and as positive as possible, but as also as honest as possible. Like Jessica was saying earlier, you know, we are small businesses. We're human too, you know, we're going through the ups and the downs, and the more honest you can be with folks, it makes them connect with you in a different way.
And I think that it's already working, because a lot of our viewers are sending comments and really appreciating, you know, your story and what you've been doing, and they've been checking out your site and everything. And so you're getting everybody really excited. So thanks for that really in-depth talk you just gave. It was really good. Unfortunately, I kind of have to stop you for a bit because we have to move into our Q&A session, and sorry about that really, but your talk was really inspirational, and it really shows in the comments. And thank you all our viewers out there who've been commenting and sharing all those good vibes. So thank you so much. But I think we can also tackle some of your questions and talking points in the Q&A, Deanna. So don't worry about it. You know, we're all in this together. All right, so glad to see our panelists back. Welcome back, all you guys. Probably had a quick break. Very good. I had a bunch of interesting questions come in actually that I wanted to discuss with you guys. And the first one is kind of broad, but I think very topical. Is now a good time to launch a brand? Right? That's something to think about, something I think a lot of people must be thinking about. And I don't know, maybe Jessica, what's your take on this?
You know, it's a tricky one. I still think, I will say it definitely is a tricky one. I can very clearly see pros and cons around it. And I think the question that I would ask, you know, as a small business owner is, you know, can you delay this until after it's over, or is now really the time to go? I think your friends and family and your network will support you. And I think if your products and services are relevant to people during this time, I think you could still be successful. But I do think we have to be cautious in the tone of our communications and how you do a product launch. I'm still seeing a lot of companies, small and large, doing product launches during this time. They're just shifting the ways that they're communicating them.
Thank you.
I'd like to hear from the others, though, especially the other small business owners.
Yeah,
if they would do it. I think Deanna maybe has a good answer too.
Yeah, I'd love to hear what Deanna has to say, because actually a bunch of questions coming in during your talk were, how did you start out? And I was just wondering if you didn't have a business at this point and you were like considering it right now, would you do it? Like, what do you think?
Absolutely. I mean, you know, again, I'm sensitive. I understand that everyone has different financial situations. But if you are able to start small, I think you should dive all in. Especially now, we don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. I know lots of people that are being laid off. It is a great way to have extra income. I started this because after 5 years of my first and my main business, my prime client went on a spending freeze, and I was just like, okay, how do I pay my rent now? And District of Clothing, you know, I'm trying my best to run these two businesses, but at times District of Clothing can do better than my main business, especially in November and December. There's lots more to add, but I know lots of people have to say things. I can email some tips if someone wants to email or DM me, but I think that you absolutely should.
Carissa, maybe do you have an idea about this? I'm not sure if you heard the question. The question was, what do you think? Is this a good time to launch a business? Like maybe from the point of view of a small business owner, yeah, debatable, but what if you want to go for something bigger? Would this be a good time?
Ooh, well, speaking from my own personal experiences, my fiance is a huge entrepreneur and has done a lot of startup companies just within our kitchen. Actually, he created his own soap company. matcha company, which I was, the main tester of all products. So I definitely believe that the only way that you will really be able to ever start anything is if you actually do it. I think right now, obviously, is a really tough time for our economy. So I think that definitely plays a huge role in why maybe some people are holding off for a little bit. But it goes for anything. Like, when is there ever going to be, the best time? So yeah, I think definitely go for it. I think there's a lot of people that have so many great ideas, but it really comes down to the ones that actually do something about it. Because all of us have great ideas, but sometimes we just don't have the capabilities to really make something of it.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Another interesting question that came through was that, well, we talked about in the first half of our talk about how durability and quality and all these aspects of a product are really important right now, and that quality is important, and quality is ultimately what sells and what people are really into, But on the flip side, sometimes when you try to push quality in a environment which is kind of, more used to the cheap, fast approach, it's more difficult to market that quality. So what do you guys think? Any tips for, how to market quality in a sea of cheap, 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 fast, fast, fast? And I would like to hear Elīna's take on.
Yeah, I think I already touched on this previously during our panel discussion, but I think for products that are maybe more sustainable and obviously more expensive to produce and sell, story really matters. So think about your product descriptions, your product photos. Maybe, if it's a really something made of a premium fabric, maybe you can get some close-up shots in there, That's what we try to do when we develop products. We try to get these close-ups and work with our marketing team to really get the product out there with our descriptions and everything, because it's all about how it looks and what value you can give to the customer with your product. So it's really finding that bridge to your customer. So I definitely think it's all about the story. So it's not so much about the price all the time. Yeah, photos obviously for e-commerce are a very important story, and just build that community, find the customers that are willing to buy your product, and don't try to market it to literally everyone.
That makes sense. That makes perfect sense. Another question that we had come in was, what channels are most valuable when promoting content or promoting your brand? Maybe Michael could add a few comments on this.
I think it's going to vary by brand and by customer. I mean, you've got to understand exactly that market that you're chasing after. I think a couple of panelists brought up the TikTok and some of the new emerging ones that are out there. I mean, clearly to get out at that younger consumer, that's where they're hanging out and seeing things, and the opportunity to be able to innovate messages that'll drive traffic to be able to sell on some of those platforms are new ways of engagement. The other thing I think that's really important right now is retargeting and following up and staying engaged. If consumers have more time and they're online more often right now, you can build that relationship. And there's a great opportunity to be able to win. I mean, people are not out in stores right now. So your competition has changed quite a bit from having to, compete against the sneaker shops and Urban Outfitters out there. You've got the opportunity to have that market to yourself. So I think it's just, circling, going broad, but knowing exactly who your audience is.
Jessica, maybe you have something to add on top of that?
Yeah, so I think what Michael was saying, I echo that feedback, but you have to figure out where your customers spend time, what channels have their attention. So, and I did see someone in the Zoom questions asking, well, how do I get some of that market research? And, I think you have to look at some of the demographics of the platforms. And inherently, I think we all probably know, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok will probably skew a bit longer, but I think Instagram for e-commerce, would probably be one that I would wholeheartedly recommend. I think if you're targeting women, I also think I'm very excited about discovery on Pinterest as well. So certainly don't discount that, and people's interest in saving items and the ability to click on a pin and convert, and also tie that into your website as well. So I would look at those, but yes, I think I'm quite excited about Instagram for the other consumer brands that I've worked on, including some of the startups that have been categories like consumer wearable tech that have had no awareness. And through Instagram ads and influencers, we were able to generate a lot of sales for a category no one had heard about before.
Hey, can I add one thing to what Jessica was saying as well, is that I think Facebook gets overlooked a little bit because it was one of the early players and perceived to be for, older audiences. But the amount of traffic that's on Facebook is still extremely dynamic. And then the content you mentioned, the wearable piece, the aspect that you've got groups that are staying connected, whether it's with something local neighborhoods, or whether you've got affinity groups. There's still a lot of power. And if you can infiltrate those audiences, you can still make a lot of traction on Facebook.
Definitely. Thank you for that. Here's an interesting question. I wanted to ask this to Liat, because it's kind of related to what we were talking about in relation to e-commerce store mistakes and all that. So obviously online, there's a lot of information, circulating. And as an online store owner, you publish certain things about yourself, and then there's information that you have to request from your customers. And so the question is sort of, how much information should you share? And maybe on the flip side, how much information should you take from others? What do you think?
So I think in terms of sharing, we've touched on it a lot today. I think in all of the talks, I would definitely share as much as possible. When your business lives online, that's the interaction that your customers are going to have with you. That's then the interaction they're going to have with your products, with your customer service. So I think the more that you can share about that, the better. In terms of personal information, I would say it depends on the brand. If your personal story is part of the brand or part of the business, then I think that it's totally legitimate to share that alongside with it. It can help build the brand, and it's a matter of how comfortable you are with sharing that information. And I think certainly now, in terms of any challenges that a business is facing, I would be very honest about those. If they're going to affect your customers in any way, or slow your ability to provide them with the services or products that they're looking for. And then in terms of requesting information from them, again, I think in the context of them buying a product, there's certain information you're going to need to request in order to deliver that, and let them know what they need to know about the product being delivered. I think if somebody is engaging with your content, then that's great. You can continue the conversation. I'm not sure I would just request information from people because it might make them feel uncomfortable. But as long as they're volunteering it, or it's part of an ongoing discussion, then I think it's fine.
Checking my questions here, and here's a good one for Diana. Is there a danger of having too many products on your store? And maybe how can you tell when you have too many?
I think it is. I definitely think that it is. I think it's mostly important that you focus on what works, just from a branding perspective. Like, the simpler, the smaller that you start, the better. And you want to make sure that people understand and are comfortable with your product before you give them a variety of things. If you can start off with one great t-shirt and they like the t-shirt, and people are coming back and purchasing it, not just for themselves, possibly for a gift, then they'll feel more comfortable buying the next t-shirt or the hoodie or the neck gaiter or whatever it might be without having actually felt it or touched it or tried it on.
Elīna, anything that you could recommend from a product point of view in terms of what to go for, maybe?
I mean, it's all about the paradox of choice, right? And the fact that less is actually more. So I definitely believe that as far as starting out, and trying to find that audience. And so I think when you have an established community, that's when you can actually start, launching new lines, new products, and so keeping those users connected. But I think the good thing about e-commerce and maybe using drop shipping as such is that you can actually experiment with lots of different things. It might not necessarily be the same all within the same store. So don't overflood it with all of the products that the vendor offers, but maybe create 2 different stores and see which one works best. That's the beauty of not having to buy inventory. So I think, yeah, less is more, and try to find that focus first and then expand on it with new lines, new additions that your audience is asking for. But yeah, in terms of if you're asking product recommendations, I think right now is actually a great time for starting out. If you can find that audience, either, leggings or something for working from home, there's definitely an audience for that, or comfortable t-shirts to wear, hoodies. I see that the tie-dye trend is really popular right now, and I'm so excited to see people that are experimenting with the all over printing, hoodies plus joggers or leggings or sports bras. I'm so excited about the trend. I see it all over TikTok and social media. So that's definitely something to experiment with right now.
I saw Michael nodding. I wonder if it was to the tie-dye stuff or to something else.
Definitely tie-dye. We've seen a huge run on white on all our apparel. So, and we know that's the purpose.
That's cool. Who'd have thought that tie-dye would have a comeback? I had a question for Nora. You spoke about, well, how to be open with your customers, then that it's important, to communicate and even to over communicate. But what do you think? Well, this is a kind of a sensitive question, really. Where's the line of transparency? Like, when do you feel that you're ready to share something, when maybe it's too soon? Because rule of thumb, be transparent. But if you had to answer in greater detail, what do you think that entails?
That's a good question. I think that it's always best to be as honest as you can, even if that means saying that, here is a rough estimate, this is what it looks like right now, can't promise that it might be longer or not. I think just being as open as you can is going to be the best policy. In terms of knowing when to communicate, I think that depends. For us, again, early March, when the situation was still developing, there was a lot that was changing every day. So, you don't want to promise your customers something one day, and then, a couple days later, kind of flips on its head and you have to change your messaging. So I think, and this is like so hard to tell, but I think you do want to wait until you kind of have a better idea of what's going on and you have something concrete to share. And at the same time, you can also just be honest and say, this is, our estimate right now, and things are crazy, things are changing. So, this might also change with time. So check back and I'll, be open and communicate when things do change.
Thank you for that. Does Jessica have anything to add about that transparency thing? Because some of the things that you talked about kind of overlapped with Nora's talk as well. So I was just wondering.
No, I think Nora's done a good job expanding on it. I think what I would say is I really like some of the messaging all of the panelists have been saying about kind of telling your story during this time as well. So I think, being upfront with your customers about the current state of your business is good. But, Diana, I really loved just, your honesty and how you're taking what's happening in your life, like feeling up one day, struggling another day. Like your big pile of laundry is my big pile of never ending dishes. I don't have a dishwasher. Will not make that mistake again in a house. But I think that's also when we talk about transparency, there's different levels of it. So there's kind of the news updates on your business, but as well as just kind of putting a human face on your business as well. So I would add that to the tip and think about that and test some of that content, because I do think that will work and resonate very well now, as well as when this is all over.
Thank you. Here's another question for Nora. So I think we shared an update. This is Printful related, Printful specific, that we're planning to reopen our facilities and start working in, the capacity that we're kind of used to normally. And does that mean that, like, how's that change going to go? So we're kind of speeding up, but how's that going to impact fulfillment and everything else?
To be honest, I don't know 100%, what the rollout plan is going to be. States, I think North Carolina is lifting their shelter-in-place laws pretty soon, where we have a facility. California soon too, I'm assuming. I will say that it's probably unlikely that we're going to launch again at full force right away, because we do still want to keep people safe. We do still want to follow public health guidelines and make sure that, we're observing social distancing. And I do think that, getting back to, our normal pace is going to be gradual, because again, we want to keep people safe. I will say that things are also improving, at our Europe fulfillment centers. Fulfillment times are going down, especially for some products that we fulfill in Latvia. And we are also gradually opening our fulfillment center in Barcelona. So we're slowly scaling up there, starting to fulfill some posters and some DTG shirts. And, we also have to, Spain is still, they're affected by COVID-19. So we're also scaling pretty slowly. But once we are able to get up to speed, that's also going to help us balance orders in Europe. So yes, states are lifting their restrictions, but our rollout isn't going to be immediate. We still want to pay attention to safety and follow these public health guidelines. So it's still going to take some time.
For sure, yeah, safety first. I mean, can't go against that. Like, no way, no how. Okay, well, I think I am sort of towards the end of my questions list. I was wondering if you have any questions for one another, just something that I wanted to throw in there. I see a bunch of kind of awkward smiles. So if that's a no, that's totally cool. But anyway, I think that we're at the end of this event, at the end of this conference, and it's been amazing with you guys. It's been really a blast. Very informative, very fun, actually, way more positive than I had expected, because you guys had such terrific examples, such wonderful stories. It was really, really fun. Who'd have thought, right? Like a conference on COVID marketing and COVID brand things, and it's been just very, very exhilarating. One last thing before we go, I just wanted to tell our viewers that we will be sending out a survey about this conference. So we're very interested in your feedback, what you thought about what went on here today. So keep an eye out for that. And just checking in on any final questions. And I just wanted to say one huge thank you to all the viewers sending in all those fantastic comments and support and questions. It's been a blast. And of course, thank you to our speakers who took the time out of their busy days, even with all the self-isolating, we're still busy. That never changes. So thank you very much to all our dear panelists. Yeah, so thank you, everybody. Take care and stay safe.